Friday, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. I am Tom Connors. With me is the boss man, Andre. How you doing, sir?
Greetings, everyone. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I flipped my breakfast on the floor, and I don't think you want me to keep going from there because it has been one of those mornings. So hopefully you guys can cheer me up because we have a heck of a panel here today. We have Culture Casino with us. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderfully well. I hope everything goes better for you, Tom, because it sounds like you didn't have the best morning, but it's going great for me.
I did have
Tom
fun last night.
So far had a Monday morning, but hey, it's Friday, so we'll see if we can.
Yeah, I had a Monday on Fridays. Is literally what's going on here.
But great time last night, indeed. But
yes,
thanks for having
fun
me.
At the She-Hulky Awards, the first and probably last annual.
Yeah, the first and last annual She-Hulky Awards. It was awesome last night. If you didn't get a chance, check out Comics Division's channel and watch last night's She-Hulkies. It was the first hour of the show is dedicated 100% to the She-Hulk Awards ceremony that we put together. So
yeah, these guys did a pretty good job, and I did my little part. But anyway, also joining us this morning is how are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's wonderful to be here on a Friday with you all. There's so much to talk about, so I'm looking forward to it.
Glad to have you. Also joining us, two Canadian people here. They're starting to take over the show, folks. Starting with the one, the only Script Doctor. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to start this weekend. And by start this weekend, I mean go back to writing after we're done the show, because I never stop.
Damn Canadians.
No, you're playing Diablo. Don't lie.
Twice a week.
Not my buddy, pal.
Yeah.
All right. And we also have with us the one, the only Target. He's the world's latest supervillain.
That's right. Great.
He's the target of all the vitriol.
The great target. Yes. Lots of interesting intrigue out there. Lots of it.
It's also the target for any executive and higher up that is having a hard time at the studio and needs someone to speak with on the phone.
Yeah,
you need advice. Go to Mr. Chato.
Call me. If you executives and fictional characters that are feeling beaten down, call me. Available anytime.
Why do I see a 30-second ad to a very badly done rendition of Call Me by Blondie starring you that looks like it was recorded on video from the 80s?
That'd be good. It's more Ghostbusters.
Call
us.
We're ready to convince you.
We're ready
to fix your studio.
That was such a great moment.
Anytime.
That was a much better moment and more positive moment than a bunch of people making fun of the fact that we like the Bill Bixby version of She-Hulk over the Marvel version. I don't know whether I'm the only person who thought that was a real middle finger, that tiny opening sequence on She-Hulk.
When they basically,
I thought it was.
Honestly, I did not know what to feel about that or how to interpret it, because it felt in a way like they were mocking the fans who liked that, because they could say it was a tribute, but it was done kind of like in a mocking way, like you like this, so we're gonna ruin it, taking it from you.
I got it from the moment that Tatiana was at the terminal and she was just sort of typing away without really noticing what she was doing. I went, okay, this is comedy sketch typing. At least that's what I got. I might be interpreting it a little bit.
Lily Tomlin's stage typing before she becomes the annoying secretary.
Oh yes, that's. Hey, don't say anything bad about
you.
Yes. Hello, Lily Tomlin. That was one of the best.
That's when she's the telephone operator. Yeah.
That was one ringy dingy, two ringy dingy. I saw her live. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You know who else was brilliant live? You won't believe it. Red Skelton. We can talk about it if you want. I did not believe it was going to be a funny show because I hated his TV show. What a master class in stand-up and just creating a top to bottom entertainment experience. And the guy was like, I don't know, 90 when I saw him. What a show. That was a shock. Anyway.
Somebody
I
else
know
puts on
exactly what you mean. Just like real quick, I saw Leonard Cohen in concert.
He's hilarious.
A couple of years
Great
before he died. There's a hardly stand-up. But the point is that I wasn't really expecting too much of a guy in his late 80s at the time who could barely stand up straight. But my God, what a show!
Wow.
That's what happens when you sing like you're 80 for your whole career. When you get to 80, people are impressed that you're able to still maintain that.
Yeah, the way, and he could move on stage. He certainly could, and like such charisma. It was awesome.
He definitely had charisma, but he was also trying to recover all the money that his manager, burned through. Sad story.
Yeah, it is.
My manager left me because he had no money to burn through. So.
That's when you know you're fucked, when your manager leaves.
That leaves. Going, what? I have nothing to embezzle. This is a complete waste of time.
It's a waste of your and my time. Now.
Yeah, that's right. I was expecting big things from you, and I got nothing to embezzle.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. But everybody knows, speaking of Leonard Cohen, that Andre is the man. How you doing this morning? What do you got for us? There isn't much going on in the news, but you did see a movie last night, and I think you dropped your review at like 4 o'clock in the morning for some reason. But yeah,
like the reviews were starting to drop among the European YouTubers, so I figured, what the heck, we'll see how it does. Although it's not the time I usually drop the reviews, but yeah, I went to see Black Panther Adam yesterday. I was like, it's like so frustrating that they have to drop two such similarly sounding movies so close to each other. But anyway, yeah, I went to see Black Adam. And for those that have not seen my review yet, I was very pleasantly surprised by it. It is by far the best superhero movie I have seen this year. Now, granted, this year has been really awful for superhero movies because what we have Morbius, which there was some fun in, but not a great movie. There was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and there's Thor: Love and Blunder, and not a single one.
They should rename it Very Little Doctor Strange.
Yeah, none of those were any good, and I'll take Black Adam over any of them because I actually had fun with that movie. I cannot assess how close it is to the source material or anything. Like I know
nothing about the source material.
Those comics. But
I don't know. I was just thinking that Doctor Strange was just a ripoff of Peabody and Sherman. But yeah, how was Black Adam?
It was cool. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It was it has been criticized for it's a movie out of time. It feels like a movie from 20 years ago. I've seen some critics say. Basically,
probably because it was written 20 years ago.
But it means it feels like a Phase 1 movie. It's an origin story that's reasonably unconnected from anything else. To me, this is a good thing. This is a return to the kind of superhero movie that we sorely need right now. When you look at all of the other drivel that is coming out, I would say that right now is one of the weakest times for superhero movies, given that you're in a time with superhero movies. And here is something that is a throwback to a period when they weren't starting out, but when they had matured and they were like gaining mainstream appeal in the first place. It kind of feels like something from that era. And I submit that's exactly what is needed right now.
I don't think there's anything wrong with seeing the $6 million Man style experience, but with a higher budget. Like I don't see the problem with having a movie that isn't introspective, even for a superhero movie.
Yeah, and there's very little of that going on.
Oh, good.
That had heart. It has action. It has what in Norwegian is called gladvold, like happy violence. Like it's violent as hell, but it's not the serious kind of violence. So like there's limbs flying everywhere and stuff, but you kind of like make a joke out of it.
Yes.
The last James Gunn movie had that.
Yeah. Exactly like that, like the last James Gunn movie. So it was like, in some sense, it was like more brutal and violent. It just didn't have the explicit blood on screen, but it did have limbs on screen and plenty of them.
Sounds good. I mean, maybe this will work. I know Lefty Hollywood wants Zaslav to hate to fail, even if it wasn't his movie. Even if it wasn't started while he was there, they don't want a single success out of DC now. They want everything to fail.
Thank you. That's the exact point that I made in my review as well. I think it's really important to keep these reviews from professional critics in context. I don't think that they're objective. I think the movie is being unfairly maligned because you have a whole lot of critics that will really dig into the movie's flaws. And let's be clear about it, the movie has flaws. This is not the perfect movie. This is the same level as Venom in that it's a fun action movie that doesn't like really meet like any criteria for great screenwriting in any sense, but the end product is entertaining.
So would you call it a popcorn movie?
Yes. It's a popcorn movie.
I don't hear that term from critics anymore. Everything has to be, something big and grave and important. And I have not heard the term popcorn movie in a long time. A while, like years ago, a critic would say, this is a great popcorn movie. And then that would be the end of it.
Yeah.
They're not saying that anymore.
This is a popcorn movie. That's a perfect description. I wish you had reminded me of that term before I did my review. But yeah, this is one.
We only said it like 20 times last.
Well, this could have also been like a big summer blockbuster because it had that tone to it. Where there's that freedom or that feel in the summer where you want to see something like this. You want to see skulls crunched, bones cracked, blood flowing everywhere. And The Rock did such a great job of just being the superhero, and he just doesn't care about anything else. And that's what you want to see. He doesn't go out of character necessarily. So we don't have to worry about any concerns or any other shit like that. It was just straight up the character, and he looked incredible. He obviously doesn't need a suit to put on or any kind of puffing, like any kind of suit to put on his body. He's in maybe the best shape of his life, and he looked so badass in this film. I loved how violent it was, and I loved it had this certain sense of masculinity to it for me because you can't be any more masculine than this man who's just muscles all over, has this attitude, aggression, isn't going to let anybody tell him something that he isn't going to do. I think that this was maybe something that is missing from a lot of films that we want to see. We've been talking about how She-Hulk didn't have any fights in it. Well, forget that series. Just watch Black Adam over and over again. I guarantee you're going to get enough of that fight. That you want to see that all that stuff, that aggressiveness that we like to see. We like to see muscular superheroes doing muscular superhero fights. So if you are craving that, Black Adam is definitely the film for you.
You saw it and you liked it.
Right.
I did. Yes, I did see it. I saw it last night. And I liked it very much. And I think that it did so many things right. And while it's true that I don't know anything I hadn't heard about Black Adam before any of this, but I know who The Rock is. And I thought to myself, what would this man be like in a superhero film? To be honest with you, I thought that they did so many things right. And it didn't have to get too complicated or caring about too much stuff. It was an in the moment, fun action film that I think, I want to see more of Black Adam because of this. Film, and I want to still see him crush heads and break bones and do all that aggressive stuff because he himself admits that fighting is important. This is a character that fighting is critical to his identity, from what I can see, and I like the idea that you're a superhero, therefore you must fight. There must be some kind of conflict where you're fighting, you're have some aggression towards someone else. And we got that. And it was like a release. It felt like a release to see this on screen, right, Andre? Like you just were like, oh yeah, this is great. Oh yeah, oh wow. You know, there was so much fun to it. And also a lot of the scenes looked very good from a fight perspective. It looked pretty flawless to me, the fighting scenes, I'm saying. I thought they were fun to watch. You did mention there was a comedic element to it, because he would just throw people like, you know, he didn't even care. And they alluded to that in the trailer. But to be honest with you, I felt the trailer was very weak. I think the film was marketed very poorly. Even at Comic-Con, I felt it was marketed poorly. I think that, you know, almost to a point where they knew that this film was outstanding and there was backlash because of maybe all of the fighting scenes. We've seen in a lot of shows where men are showing aggression, where they have excessive fighting scenes. There's pushback, just like in The Terminalist, just like in, Reacher, where they don't want to see very muscular men doing physical, violence against others. They don't want to see any of that. They don't care whether it's in the pursuit of justice or whether the person's a police officer. They do not care. They just don't want to see it. So I think that just that alone, they didn't necessarily want to support the film because it is so strong in that. But The Rock is known for this. I mean, he's a wrestler, for heaven's sake. We're expecting physical movement. We're expecting to see this conditioned man go ahead, get in there, move people around, throw things around, crunch things. That's what we're expecting from The Rock, even outside. And I think he accomplished this in this film, maybe to a point that I've never seen. When was the last time we saw something like this, Andre? You tell me when. When have we seen this?
Did he pull a foreign object out of his tights?
No, but he rammed some foreign objects into other people's bodies.
So no chairs, no folding chairs.
We haven't seen any over the top action scenes like this. I want to say James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, but that's not entirely accurate because those were like realistic and brutal, whereas this is like super entertaining but very cartoony. So I think we have to go of movies that I have seen. We have to go back to Will Smith's Hancock, but then you add some Punisher to that.
Hancock was good.
Yeah,
it was so raw and beautiful, and I think it almost didn't even matter a lot of the time for some of the other supporting characters, whether they had relevance or not, because this film was for me, it was all about Black Adam. So I didn't have the question about who's the star of this film. Absolutely no concern about that whatsoever. He is the star. He's the first thing, I think one of the first things I saw and the last thing that was on my mind in the film. So I certainly think it's very interesting to think about it that way. I was not expecting this experience in Black Adam, and it feels really good.
Okay, so 3 questions. Because there are 2 of you that have seen this film now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so question 1. Does this mean that this is a franchise character that is going to carry multiple films, or is this a one-off?
Franchise.
I think he can carry multiple. He's so strong, Culture. He has so much presence in this film. He's not going away. He's not a one and done. He's sticking around. He's powerful. He has, a certain level of steadiness to him. You can't just push him aside. You can't, pretend like this character doesn't exist now. He's here to stay. I feel like he's going to redefine, and we need things to be redefined because things haven't been going well. Things have been somewhat, stagnant, and the water isn't moving. Nothing is flowing. Now it feels like a reinvigoration. It feels like when The Rock would have those, you could go ahead and put on your phone, and he would say, "Come on, you can do this." This is what this film feels like. It feels like he's kind of reinvigorating things, and why not? Because he's in the best shape of his life. He looks fantastic. He knows it. He knows he has the ability to get things going again. And I'm sure he feels the same way we do, and how stale things have become and how unsatisfying things are. He's going to get us all those things we want, I think. And this may be the vehicle, if not other ways, but I think that this is a great start to it. Yeah,
and to add to that, ignoring the physicality of The Rock for a moment, in terms of like what this movie does to the DC universe, whether this is a one-off or this is a franchise. Oh, this is definitely a franchise, because what happened here is that the DC just has a new Superman thrust into it. And a Superman who likes to kill and who is a volatile, loose cannon, but he has the powers of Superman, so he can't be stopped.
Yeah, you can't tell him
possibly
shit.
Someone other than Superman, and can even he stop him? So yeah, this actually it is a huge change of status quo in the DC universe, and now I hadn't thought about that until you said it right now.
Well,
but I do believe that's probably why David Zaslav decided that this movie right here, this is the one that we are not going to do too much with. We're going to remove the overt wokeness, we're going to remove the political commentary, and we're going to re-edit it to bring out the fun, because I've heard now that's what they did with it. If this movie had come out this summer, the way it was filmed and originally intended, it wouldn't have been as fun as it is right now. What they did here, this movie is like 2 hours long already, but they removed the boring parts, they removed the drama bits, and only focused on the fun stuff. But what you're left with here, and I don't blame Zaslav for like being excited about this, because this is a massive, change in status quo for the DC universe. Because now there's a new player in town, and it's a power player.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that maybe this was what they needed to do, because they've been giving us somewhat complicated and meaningless storylines for a little while now. We kept getting these explanations about why this is happening, why that is happening, and we're all kind of exhausted by the nonsense. We don't get any nonsense in this film. You know, it's a simple situation. He's there. And as you said, Andre, you know, you can't convince Black Adam to make a left or a right. He's going to go the way he wants to. And I think maybe it's kind of a protest against a lot of things we've been seeing where people are kind of bending the knee. I think that this film is more of he's going to live his life and, you know, just do what he feels is right for him. And it's kind of refreshing to see that. I don't think he cares what anyone else thinks. And I, as a woman, like to see a strong superhero on the screen. So it feels good to see that once again. And I do like, characters that have their own mind.
How did the audience like the film?
In my theater, they loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, same in my theater. Norwegians are dead inside, and they are generally not too cheerful or anything like that in the theater. Like, there's not much you can feel from Norwegians in most cases in movies.
Like a Vancouver
but I heard
audience.
Like two, 3 people laughing out loud over the course of this movie, and they were laughing with the movie and not at it. I mean, that's a crowd. I mean, that's the audience freaking loving it. So the vibe that I got from my screening, which was 1/3 full, this was a Thursday preview screening, so like doesn't really bode well for the weekend as a whole. But I got the gist that the audience there enjoyed it as much as me.
Yes, in culture, I do want to add something else to what you were talking about, how it fits into the franchise. And Andre obviously made some excellent points, but I heard people in the theater talking about what's going to happen next. They're excited about this now. You know, they want to know what the next step is. And they were saying, well, this is what's probably going to happen. And, you know, there was a level of intrigue and interest hearing everybody speak in the theater, you know, of course, waiting for that final scene, end credit scene, but also when the film, people stayed, talked, and then as they were exiting the theater, because I was with my mom, so I have to wait for everybody to go out, but I could hear them talking, and that level of enthusiasm, it was great to hear that again. So that also added to the enjoyment of it all.
Okay, well, the second question, I think you've answered just because you went for 15 minutes without taking a breath. But would you pay again to see this film at full price?
I would.
Okay. Andre?
I generally never go see movies more than once in theaters. I would have to have a especially good time for me to do that. I would in this case, yeah. I'd be happy to see this one a second time in theaters. I had that much fun with it.
Tom, I think you need to package Erm's contribution to this, her entire video contribution to this particular movie, to Black Adam, and send it to DC, and then have them package that into a promo. I have not heard such excitement, and about a project in years. And I love your energy on this. I think
thank you.
I think it's catchy. I wasn't going to go see this in the theater, but I think because of you, I'm going to go see it in the theater now.
Yeah,
you should.
But I agree. Like as those of you who saw me at the Live with Mr. H reviews and then Midnight's Edge After Dark, maybe my expectations were so low that I was really blown away. But this is I've really only had loads of fun in 2 movies this year. And that was Top Gun Maverick and it's Black Adam. Now, of the 2, Top Gun is obviously the vastly superior movie. Like, let there be absolutely no denying that. Top Gun beats Black Adam at everything, apart from fun and sheer delight. And this movie was just a sheer delight to see.
My wife will go to any movie with Pierce Brosnan in it.
Yeah, he's in here too. That was brilliant. That way you get Chato to go and bring his wife as well.
We've got a deal that if he shows up at the door, that she can go with him.
She's giving her a hall pass. Is that it?
I'm giving
brilliant casting then.
But you know something, and I'm sorry, Andre, I did want to say that Pierce Brosnan is a class act in this. He has never lost any of his charm and appeal. He is a silver fox. He's incredibly sexy in this film, but in an understated way.
When isn't he? When isn't he?
Well,
even I find him sexy.
Putting on a mask, that kind of covers up a man who's very attractive. I want to see the man, right? So there is that. But then he had this voice, this guiding voice, Andre, which I'm sure you remember hearing in the film. He plays sort of a guide at a sense, and hearing his calmness was the perfect balance to, let's say, the unleashed aggression and vigor of Black Adam. So I think that in itself was also a very interesting balance in the film.
I will say though that he has a magnificent presence, but I think he was written to be a bit dumb, which was kind of like necessary to create a conflict between the people who are supposed to be the heroes of the movie and Black Adam. And the way that they achieve this is basically you have the heroes. This is very mild spoiler here, but the heroes, they go to, let's just say that they want to go and figure out what is up with Black Adam and have him come with them. And in this situation, maybe some kind of tact would be required. They know that this is someone who woke up from literally 5,000 years ago. So you're kind of like dealing with the first contact in Star Trek. And diplomacy should be of the essence here. And during their very first interaction, Pierce Brosnan's character, however his presence is, he wasn't very tactful and he wasn't very diplomatic. In fact, none of the heroes were, which was necessary to create that conflict with Black Adam. But they did come across as relatively stupid, which did serve the movie very well. It served Black Adam very well. Don't know that it served the heroes and how they will be perceived all that well, but you can't have everything.
All we know for sure is that after 5,000 years, Rock will not have had bad head.
Well, you know something, Andre, you make a good point, because I was not as impressed by the other characters, and that's okay because the rest of the film seemed to carry it. And I think that sometimes when you don't have stronger superheroes, or maybe they're just starting out as superheroes, I don't know what the story is with them, but it didn't matter. They almost as if they weren't even in the film. I don't think it would have made a difference for me. So I don't know what their plans are with those characters, but except for the 2 younger characters I'm talking about, but not the other gentleman with the wings. So, but to be honest with you, Andre,
the 2 secondary characters are inconsequential in the film, and you're saying that's
kind of, yeah.
Yes.
That's not a positive though. That's actually
They
kind of
are.
bad.
I mean, you could cut them from the whole movie and it wouldn't really matter. They're just there along for the ride and
Agreed.
for some chief laughs and some giggles along the way. And so, and you have to remember though, this is like, you can tell exactly why those characters were there. They're left over from the previous administration, where they decided, okay, we need to bring in some young adults here. We need to bring in the girls. So we're going to bring in Noah Centineo just to get his demographic in here of fangirls. And then we're going to bring in this other girl that he can fawn over for representation purposes and bring in like a more, or like that's obviously why they were there. They didn't really contribute to the movie. And they're both like on their first mission. They're trainees. They make that point relatively clear. Now, why you would send them to apprehend Black Adam, that of course is a different matter, which only goes to show that Amanda Waller mayhaps isn't the best of leader, but that's kind of like in character. What was it before? Yes.
Oh no, Amanda Waller is an evil politician and also an incompetent woman.
I love Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
Now you have to say that DC has the worst secondary and tertiary superheroes compared to Marvel. They've got the top tier.
They don't have deep of a
no, they actually have a lot more superheroes than Marvel.
They have more.
As far as well known, no.
Well known,
just because of X-Men alone, that really like dwarfs. Like that's a problem.
The beauty that they have though is that they have like so many weird, obscure characters. In fact, both Marvel and DC has this, which means when you come to like movies,
for sure,
there are so many characters that you can mine for like comedy purposes. And that's kind of what they do here, although I think it was done better in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad.
If only they could have done that on She-Hulk.
That would have been something.
Third question, right? So, because I had three.
Yeah, go for it.
Third question.
Get to the third question.
I'm trying. So in light of this film and in light of what's coming next, do you think that this is that they're going to sputter and maybe not bring in the audience into the second franchise film here, regardless of Cavill's presence? Because you have The Flash coming up, which I don't know, depends on who you believe, how many reshoots have gone into that, plus the legal trouble that Ezra Miller has. And then you have a increasingly delayed all the way to next Christmas 2023 Aquaman 2, which is
that's the problem.
Which is going to get more women in the seats because
I'll
of
be there.
Momoa, right?
Which already tells me Flash is going to get pushed back again. But anyway, continue.
How far are they going to put? Yeah, okay.
No, Ezra's gone.
As far as it takes.
They're going to take Ezra out of the movie. They're reshooting it.
Okay.
Gee, who said that 2 months ago?
So the stumble, like I said, so is this not?
Here they are again, 2 months behind the news. Sorry, culture.
So do you agree that that's a problem in light of the fact that this is a film that you enjoyed very much? Obviously, I almost did it right, and Andre, and you're going to then have two very meager offerings in the next two films. Again, provided The Flash sticks in its spot. And why would you have pushed back Aquaman 2 all the way till Christmas next year?
Because it was crap.
Exactly, because culture. Right now, you are assuming that they are releasing the movies as they were, but we've been hearing nothing but delays and reshoots. And based on what I've seen in in Black Adam here, what I can tell that they did here, like I can't tell that they did much reshoots other than the. Spoiler alert, but it's leaked everywhere. Post-credit scene with Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
That's one thing I can tell that they did in reshoots. But other than that, the only thing that I can tell from looking at this movie is that they have re-edited it. They have cut it with a chainsaw to cut like any kind of message in it. And they have also cut it to emphasize the action. I think that there's action scenes in here right now which weren't in the originally planned cut. And I think that Aquaman 2 and certainly The Flash are going to get exactly the same treatment. This is what Zaslav said. He sees DC as a long-term investment. This is what's going to carry the company going forward. So he knows that for that to happen, then these movies, they can't outright suck. And the one that did outright suck and was going to be detrimental, that was Blackgirl. So what happened to that? I don't know that Aquaman 2 is going to suck so bad by the time it's released. We don't know how extensive a job is done to it.
And I'm concerned with the marketing. And I'm sorry, Culture. I'm concerned with the marketing of anything else that comes through, because I just felt that the marketing job for Black Adam was just so substandard. Even the music that they chose for a lot of the trailers, which I don't even remember hearing in the movie. I don't know about you.
But I can answer that. The marketing was made under the previous administration. The marketing team, they were advertising not the movie that we got right now. They were advertising the movie as it was this summer. That's the movie they were advertising. But since summer, this movie has been changed, and the marketing campaign, I don't think it's that big a hit, reflective of the movie right now, because it's a different movie that was released. Yeah. Whereas with the Flash and Aquaman, I think that by the time marketing kicks into high gear, they're gonna know what movie they have and what they're marketing. And hopefully, we don't know what the marketing department is going to do, but hopefully, having seen, so this is what we're marketing.
Yes.
They're going to do it differently. Because remember, the cut that the marketers saw, and this is the way it always works. The marketers, they see a cut of the movie. They saw the cut that was made under the previous Ansarnov and Walter Hamada administration. That's the movie they saw and the movie they marketed. And that cut will never ever be seen by anyone else ever again, because this is the Zaslav cut.
It was also stripped down because of the R rating. So I would suggest, based on people who had seen that they cut out a whole lot of very, very severe action.
But the movie was always going to be rated R, though. I mean, that's not. Let's keep this in mind. The movie was never ever going to be rated R. It could be that the filmmakers, on The Rock's insistence, he was like, "Hey, let's go all out, and we'll deal with it afterwards. Maybe we can release a director's cut down the line or something." But the release version was never going to be anything other than PG-13. So that's not something that was done. I think it would have been better, actually, if they had gone all the way R, just to mark that this is a completely different direction. I think the only reason that they didn't do that is because it really screwed up the Suicide Squad.
Well, if they can get the marketing right, if they can get it, I'm sorry, if they can get the marketing right, because I didn't finish to answer your question, Culture, I'm sorry. If they can get the marketing right and continue in this tone, because at the end of the film, that post-credit scene, I knew who was going to be in the post-credit scene, but I didn't even care that Superman was going to be in that post-credit scene. That's how much I liked this film. I wasn't expecting that.
I think that strategic leak that they kept trying to cover up, I'm going to say it was willful to get buzz going about the film, to get people to go see it, because a lot of people don't know who this character is, but that's beside the point. The film, like I said, if, as I posited, that we end up with these other two films well down the road that keep getting pushed back into infinitum, you have nothing to put behind this film. There's nothing coming up to support this beginning, because you've pushed all this other stuff farther down the road. And that's
but here's the thing, though. I don't mean to interrupt, but that'll be announced in December.
Okay.
And I don't what's think coming next. I don't think the strategy of Star Wars, for instance, of deluging the marketplace with crappy stuff was particularly successful. So I don't mind the staggered, maybe longer term releases. I know it's bad for DC's bottom line, but if each one of those movies can be a hit, and if Black Adam can actually join the top tier of DC, so you have Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, Black Adam, That's an insane thing to do. Plus, in The Rock, Warner themselves have got an all-out, unabashed marketing juggernaut who isn't embarrassed about marketing. He will happily put Warner on his back and carry it because he's just going to do that wrestler thing. I'm going to see you Saturday. You're going to die. I'm going to kill you.
Done for Top Gun pretty much, and for his entire career. And maybe that's what the franchise needs right now.
And the studio needs that. And Marvel has now got all these. Well, they've disappeared. All these franchise people have now disappeared. But even then, towards the end of their franchise, they were just running away like rats in a fire. From Marvel, and not really wanting to promote the studio or anything. Right. Disney doesn't have anybody that's championing them as an actor, as a character, except for these wine women from She-Hulk and all the losers, talking from their cars, crying about how badly their star actress is being treated. That's the quality of superstardom that's carrying Disney now, crying actors in their cars.
And the unprofessionalism.
This is what's happened to Disney's palette of idiocy. So if DC can grab such an unabashed promoter like The Rock, that's an asset in of itself. That's my theory.
Well, and considering the fact that last evening he was in one of the theaters actually ahead of the film, promoting the film, talking to the audience members in Burbank. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, that's great to have a mouthpiece like that, but then it only goes so far. The film has to be satisfying to the audience, which it sounds like it is.
It is all about the product. I mean, you're not going to pull the wool over people's.
I'm very satisfied.
Oh, well, I can tell. Believe me, I think everybody.
We are very glad to hear that.
Wow, yeah. like I said, DC needs to package your component from this video and stick it in a YouTube ad.
So the next thing you have to look forward to with DC, and it was a direct parallel to this film. Black Adam and Shazam are essentially married as far as how many people knew about them going in, how many people were interested in what they were coming out with, et cetera, et cetera. You have Zachary Levi on one side, you got Rock on the other side. So we're looking right now as this film with its Thursday previews about 2 million ahead in the preview number for their Thursday to Thursday. So that's where that is in comparison to the original film. So it is 2 million ahead. Black Adam is 2 million ahead of Shazam. Now, the next film you get, if the calendar doesn't change again, is going to be the next Shazam film in March. Then the next one we know for sure, because obviously Flash is up in the air, and so is Aquaman 2, which is in December. I don't know how far you're going to kick that count down the road. But anyway, then after that, you have Blue Beetle, right? Which is August set. So you have a summer opening for one of these films. The question is, what's it going to be? And if anything at all. I like I said, I don't have great faith that none of these things get kicked further down the road. And again, in order to build momentum, you have to have things come out, somewhat close to each other.
Yeah.
I don't think, in as much as I like the kid from Cobra Kai, I don't think he's going to be putting butts in the seats. I mean, to a certain extent, sure, but Blue Beetle's going to have to knock it out of the park, and it's going to have to get good word of mouth in order for people to jump all over that one.
Need to tell Paulie to get.
Yeah, that's going to be in August. Yeah, and Paulie's going to promote the hell out of it for sure. But before that, you have obviously Shazam. Is Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, or whatever it's called? Is that a good film after Black Adam that's going to put butts in the seats or keep them there? Because that, again, it's all about momentum when it comes to these big franchises, right? And that we're talking, DC's been trying to build this universe for a decade. So that's my question is what do you have to follow up on this that's going to build on this momentum, if this actually has momentum? Because we still don't know. We'll see what the box office looks like.
Is there going to be a The Batman 2?
We're not sure.
Yes, on paper.
In theory, yes.
On theory, yeah.
Or a completely different Batman.
Nina asks in the chat, how you doing, Nina? Who watched Black Adam and was it good? Both Artem and Andre have seen it and they both recommend it.
Fantastic, Nina. Go and see it.
Yeah, go back 35, 40 minutes and you will get a 15-minute breakdown of the film.
They've been talking about it for the last 45 minutes.
I wouldn't call it a breakdown. She was just very excited, and I was surprised she didn't pass out from not taking a breath.
Very, very effusive. Very effusive.
Well, I have a reaction like that to a film that does mean something. Be good. It's gotten me so excited, and I'm excited for everyone else's response to it because it's good for everybody. This is what we need. It reinvigorates the franchise. It reinvigorates the economy. This has kind of like trickle down effects across the board. This is very, very good.
I mean, it's great to hear. It's so depressing to come out of Love and Thunder. And
you didn't feel the love or the thunder?
It was such a bad movie that it depresses you. How hard is it to make a superhero movie that at least doesn't depress you? I don't know.
As I pointed out in my review, Black Adam shits all over both Marvel movies this year. And I didn't get to bring up the comment that I had put up on screen here, but someone pointed out that Chris Gore, who you will recall, we spoke with on Monday, and he was not looking forward to Black Adam, not in the slightest. Well, apparently he saw it and he liked it too. So something is definitely going on with the Black Panther reception here. And I submit again, for those that came in late, it's being unfairly maligned by the critics.
You said Black Panther.
Zaslaw is a threat to the whole ideopolitical paradigm. Let's put it that way. Because this movie it's really diverse. It's really diverse. That's a leftover from the previous one. It's supposed to be as well because it takes place in replacement Iraq. But this movie, there's nothing woke in it. Nothing at all. Anything woke has been removed in the editing. This is just sheer fun.
Yes, and there
very
are
dangerous.
Very masculine men doing masculine things. There's testosterone in the air. Ladies, you will not be disappointed in the men in this film, I assure you.
And you said Black Panther again, just to be clear, you meant Black Adam.
One last thing real quick. One last thing.
I think,
this sorry about that. To support what everybody is saying. Has actually talked me into seeing this film. I was not going to see it. So that's
two of us now.
Yeah.
I'm going to see it. I hope this is good. And you know what? I think secretly we want to see Disney get kicked in the pants.
Well, secretly.
Overtly.
So much. Yeah, it was Gurney Halleck was the one who pointed out Gore's reaction, and he called it super fun.
Yeah,
and I agree. It's right up there. It's like Black Adam. Who would have thought that would be one of the year's best movies alongside Top Gun? But where entertainment value is concerned, not anything else, not any quality measures, but where sheer entertainment is concerned, here we are. This is the year where DC kicked the snot out of Marvel with one movie. and of course, granted, we still have Black Panther, and I meant to say Black Panther this time, to come, but
you know something, Andre. This is the thing that I'm concerned about, and as I've mentioned to you, gentlemen, and everybody in the chat before, that I love to see men in superhero films, especially if it's about, we've seen so many strong, attractive men, these superheroes that we love. And the thing that disturbs me about Wakanda Forever is that I haven't seen those incredible Black men that we saw in the first film, at least not in the trailer. I mean, where else am I going to see strong, beautiful Black men? It's not as common as every single film. So in this film, we got it in Black Adam, but Wakanda Forever, which primarily is Black people, you would expect to see strong Black men. That's how I look at it. And I get it. They want to promote women, but I think that the men can be there as well. So I am concerned that I may not see all those beautiful Black men that I saw in the last film. I hope I'm not going to be disappointed. That's my number one concern with that film.
You're going to be disappointed. You should see the German version, Black Panzer. That's got way more men in it.
I don't know why Abrams having such a hard time finding sexy Black men online. There's literally hundreds of websites for that.
Screen.
I'm confused here. Oh, you mean in a movie?
But also, but I agree, and this is a point that I have made before. I have not seen Black Panther, and yes, I meant to say Black Panther, but I think that black men in particular, if the movie is how it is promoted, where you're going to have Shuri take on the Black Panther mantle instead of some of the other big, strong, masculine men that are far more deserving of the title. We saw 2 of them in the previous Black Panther. If both of them get sidestepped in front of Shuri, to me, that's political messaging.
Did everybody here
political messaging
see the new trailer for Black Panther Wakanda Forever?
Yeah.
It is very Shuri heavy.
There you go. I think
well, it's actually a TV. I think it's a TV trailer, but yeah.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a minute of basically boasting nothing but her. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that the black male audience is going to be too responsive to that. I very much doubt they're going to be like, "Yay, girl power!"
Black Adam is a multi-ethnic person. The Rock, he is Canadian also. Just want to point that out.
Yes.
I have very little love for Dwayne Johnson as a public figure. I'm talking about him personally, but I have very little love for him as a public figure. But even as that, I thought he was really good in this.
Another movie that was destined for failure was Jumanji, the first Dwayne Johnson black.
I don't know. Black. They strategically put that up against The Last Jedi, and I think they had a feeling that.
I don't think anyone anticipated it being so popular.
Not in the end as far as the popularity, but I think they knew they had a chance up against Star Wars just because there was a bit of fall off after Force Awakens, and they knew this was going to be the second one, but I don't think they anticipated people hating on The Last Jedi as much as they did. And I think you're right. I don't think they ever anticipating it being like twice the hit the original Robin Williams one was. And maybe that was not with inflation, but box office wise, technically.
That was a full out fun film where they weren't afraid to put a hunky guy in and a stunningly gorgeous, curvy woman.
Yes.
That weren't no fear. Mm-hmm. And that to me, I remember watching going, how did they get away with this? And that was one of the reasons that made it enjoyable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that they were always all really good actors.
We'll have to see how the audience responds to it this weekend. I'm sure we'll discuss it on Monday, but we've got some super chats here we should probably get to, Andre.
We do. Let's get
very
into
patient
those.
People sent in almost 2 hours ago now. Callum Lyle says, I enjoyed Black Adam. It was crazy action fun. The story was meh, but it helped me get over an idiot Green Karen and the MCU. That is always a good part. Then we got Liam John Smith who says, Andre, did you know Chris Pratt, not James Marsden, was in the original Sonic movie? Tom, please look what you made me do since you dislike. What's WAP?
WAP is that song. So I
that stupid fucking song.
I presume that this is the follow-up song to WAP. Gotcha. Which I also have not seen, so I'll be sure.
So I gotta check out look what you made me do.
Megan Thee Stallion song.
What you made me do.
That is some piece of.
As far as the first part, wouldn't it be interesting if Chris Pratt had been in there instead of James Marsden? Then he would have been in both Mario and Sonic movies.
Yeah,
he's in everything anyway. I think secretly, but
as long as he doesn't voice Sonic, then all right. And I'm not keen on him voicing Mario, but yeah,
it's not sounding too good. But we'll see.
That it is
not. Dr. Long Dongler in the house. How you doing, Dr. Long Dongler? And he sends in a thumbs up. Please hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. That helps us here at the channel. And then we've got Captain Fandom Nerd, who's been a member for 17 months. Thank you for that, Captain Fandom Nerd. Then we've got Hyper Guyver 2, who says, so Andre, I have to know, can you smell what The Rock is cooking?
Well, if it's a better DC, then yes.
I think he just wants some panties to drop. He's like, we're going to get me and Henry on screen at the same time and watch what happens.
Well, you know something, Tom, they were on the screen at the same time, and my reaction was not what I thought it was going to be. To be honest with you, as I said before, and I still don't understand why, I don't even think Cavill needed to be there at the end. I think that the film would have been equally as popular and enjoyable. I don't know how Andre feels about it, and I've been excited for Cavill, but if he were not there, it still would have been the same film to me.
So
still the same level.
I think people are getting more excited about the symbolism of it.
That's exactly
Which is kind of ironic that they're fine. It took all, and I think I said this the other night, took all this time for Superman to finally become a symbol of hope in the DC universe.
10 years after introducing the character.
Yeah. What was that?
I'm sorry, what did you say, Script? What?
10 years after introducing this take on the character, he finally becomes a symbol of hope, and he's done. And it's done so in what, less than a 30-second scene at the end of a movie he's not in the title of. That's bad.
So from an executive perspective, you have to understand that the people have been watching cuts and recuts and cuts and recuts for months now of this, and they have completely lost sight of the value and or the potential success of the film. That's what happens. You forget about your initial excitement, and then as you see multiple versions of it, you become numb. And so the idea of putting a little bit of honey at the very end with Cavill makes sense because you can't make a decision anymore. You don't know whether it's any good anymore. That's just the process of editing these things and watching them over and over. It's one of the bad parts of creating something fun or
well, you get desensitized to it. You lose perspective on what you think is going to resonate with an audience, and that's really hard to maintain. That's why whenever I got the rare privilege of going into editing suites with directors, they have this big whiteboard of the notes they categorize all the feelings they had when they first saw it to remind them of
that's a great idea.
What worked. And I'm like,
that's why Cavill's in it.
Right. Yeah. But exactly. Yeah. But it's also the biggest problem. I'm going to continue to say it. The biggest problem now with that whole process, Paul, I think, is the committee nature of the way films are made now. I think that these people see so many cuts of so many different films. They're no longer focused on anything but what their bullet points are.
And there's one other problem. Back in the day, you had to commit this thing to film months ahead of time. You had to dupe it. Then you had to insure each copy, bicycle these giant canisters to each of the theaters. Now they digitally broadcast them over satellite to the digital projectors, so they can be making changes right up until the last moment. And that's actually bad, I think. We'll probably talk about that too.
Yeah, it's 48 hours is the minimum time you need to have between, like, you can edit a movie up until 48 hours before its debut.
And I don't think that's particularly good. It's good for the noodlers.
Yes.
Paul's right. They can also change it midstream while it's not like it's actually showing, because I talked to somebody who owns the theater. Depending, I suppose, on your setup, because she told me it takes like a couple hours to download, and then God forbid she has to move one of the movies, because she was griping. I think it was the original Black Panther was when I was talking to her about this, because she said that sucks because whenever Marvel does this shit, they force it to have to be in a certain seat theater, even if she has a movie that's playing better in another theater. She has to move that movie up into that theater, and it takes hours
to move it. Top tier studios will push the theaters around.
But now you're right though, Paul. If they call or sent out an email or whatever saying that you have to download this version of the movie now, they will do that instead.
Well, and somebody pointed out the very thing I was going to say in the chat, which is, you remember the butthole cut of Cats?
Yes, that's an example of
it. That got changed midstream. There were scenes removed from other films reportedly not that long ago. So we're
not during the broadcast of the film, but in between showings.
In between, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like not actually in the middle of the movie.
On shot first.
If George could do that in real time, he would. Probably.
He would have. Absolutely.
I still think, like I said, I still think the enemy here is the fact that, as you pointed out, Paul, is the fact that you're not getting a vision from a visionary. You're getting too many chefs in the kitchen, and they are in every kitchen. which is the problem, which is why everything is devoid of creativity and heart, and it feels
Well, that's
soulless.
because you have $200 million movies. You get a $60 million movie, you cut half of those people out. They're not there. They don't care. $60 million bucks. Bye-bye.
You need 12 to 15 people tops, and all of them have to be in the film from beginning to end. Nowadays, I mean, it's the other thing that's production, but you lose EPs. EPs are sometimes done with their job, the minute you stop filming. Directors are done and on to the next project.
Sometimes EPs don't do shit. All they do is make a phone call.
This is also true. But my whole point is, producers as well. There are people who are in a film project for as long as it takes for it to go into the quote unquote, editing bay, and then they're out. You don't have the kind of, I'm here to the end of this thing filmmakers anymore.
And also the era of Mike Todd's is over.
Yeah.
I mean, that era is long gone. Now you have accountants who are making suggestions. When we were doing our Frantic show back in 1984, we had a studio exec at Showtime telling us that we can't use the word portage because Americans don't understand what it means. So of course it was referring to the Canoe Head sketch, but they said, no, you got to remove the word portage. What do you mean? Because Americans don't know what portaging means. So network notes,
which means that guy
legendary. Didn't mean it, Who here doesn't know what portage means?
I don't know, unless you have never boated before. I don't see.
Well, the guy was from Texas, so
that could be. That's what I'm saying. He didn't know what it meant. That's
correct,
what it was.
But he says everyone, and that's
exactly
those are the notes you get from network execs. They say, well, no one here in the United States understands what portage means. Cut it. So listen, network notes have been part of it forever, but now you've got studios that are owned by conglomerates, and the Michael Todds are gone.
Yeah.
ActionCom says he had portage for breakfast. I think he means porridge, but close enough.
Don't correct him, Tom. Let him live in his dream.
But actually, that's one of the fundamental ways that you can make a mistake. I believe it was the great philosopher Scott Adams that pointed out this in one of his books. When you judge the world from yourself. I don't know what this word means, so no one knows what this word means.
Correct. Yep.
But culture
we have
has
a
to be leaving us.
Yes, so we have one that's for him here. Bamagrad says, "Hail to y'all, Tom. You have a package to pick up." I do. Okay, Andre. It looks like you went to see Black Adam with an open mind. Now I have even more respect for your culture. See you in Orlando.
So he's saying he had no respect for you before. I get it.
Well,
wow.
Well,
he has more than he did before. That's all we know.
Well, we don't know.
I will be in Orlando starting Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, however you want to look at that. And so I will be seeing those of you that are going to the meetup there. And I'll be conveying via socials and maybe even videos where I am along the way. I'm very excited about this, but this is not the place to advertise that. What I will say is this: I had a great time today, and I'm going to go see Black Adam with an open mind, strictly because of this young lady down here, and for no other reason. Because honestly, I wasn't going to see the film on, but you talked me into it. So well done. And on that note, everybody have a great day. I hope to see you on my show later today. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, take
Bye,
care.
culture.
All right, take care.
Bye,
Thanks for joining us.
Au revoir, culture.
And then we've got ActionCom says, should the old Ghostbusters cast be watching their backs? It's funny. I brought this up last night. I'm not going to get too deep into it here either. So check out Midnight's Edge After Dark last night if you want to find out a little bit more about this. But I mean, it's kind of at that conspiracy theory level at this point. But it's
what do you mean? What does this
first
mean?
of all, there was this ramp up of this cancel campaign for Bill Murray that went into full effect this last week. That we had done a video about almost 2 months ago.
Andre? The cancel?
I don't remember when we did the video, and honestly, I've forgotten the video itself. Maybe it needs a follow up or something.
Yeah, because then we had a supposed, I put that in quotations, update from the whole ordeal from Matthew Baloney, which I'm not sure I buy, but that's neither here nor there, because ever since that, you've had this endless slew of stories about Bill, most of which we already knew. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Anna Faris decides she's going to say something about Harold Ramis Or not Harold Ramis. I'm sorry, Ivan Reitman. I keep doing that. I did that last night too.
Anna Faris?
Yeah. Supposedly, he slapped her in the ass on the set of My Super Ex-Girlfriend. She laughed about it at the time, but now she's having some big issue over it. So I'm like, okay, so you're attacking a guy after he's dead, and at the time you didn't address it instead of, now you're doing it 20 years after the fact. So the weird thing is like, is there this like campaign now that's coming after the Ghostbusters cast? And it may be retaliation for 2016. And I know that sounds conspiratory, but I wouldn't put it past some of these motherfuckers.
Yeah, I don't know enough about this to really comment on it. What I will say about Anna Faris, then I don't even know if I should say it, but I don't think that she does not appear to have been the same since Chris Pratt left her.
Let's say that she changed before that a little bit from what I've heard. But
yeah, maybe a reason why Chris Pratt left her.
Yeah.
Well, the reason is basically Chris Pratt was not very committed to the relationship and marriage.
So, well, there may be more sides to that story that we.
I was going to say, who knows how faithful she was either, but yeah.
Anna Faris? She's has no stories about being with the men in Hollywood at all.
That you know of, because women are smarter.
The gossip is not. You can't really out class or out hide gossip in Hollywood.
Well, let's just go with there are no stories, and beyond that, we don't know. So yeah.
Hey, listen. Social media has revealed to us that has confirmed to us that the actors are as dumb or dumber as we thought.
Yeah, the rest of the world is knowing what we've known for a long time. Actors are really stupid people.
Yeah, but that's their job. Their job is to convey the words of writers and make it seem like a real person is saying them, and it requires a certain amount of insecurity to be able to do that.
Yeah, and also requires a certain sense of arrested development and maturity so that they can capture the raw emotions that are required for the performances that are asked of them.
Right, which is why I became an actor. Speaking of immature.
I don't know. I'm going to say this much. I just look at it this way. The whole Anna Faris, Chris Pratt thing, I have no real comment on. But when it comes to this, she had her chance to say something way back when. Why did she wait till now? Way after the fact. And not even a year after we lost Ivan Reitman. I almost did it again. For some fucking reason. Like, it boggles my brain why they're doing this shit now. And
if there was a time for it, you would have think that it would have been with the whole like Weinstein thing and everything.
Exactly.
Like, was at its fervor. If there was a time for it, it was then.
If not like when it happened, or when it was being talked about. This just seems out of nowhere. The same thing with the Bill Murray thing, because a lot of people are keying in on something that Gina Davis had said, and I find that whole thing funny because I'm like, well, she clearly didn't have that big of a problem because she was in the movie. And at the time, she was arguably almost as big, or if not maybe even bigger of a star than Bill Murray at that point. Because she had just been coming off of her hottest streak of films. So I don't know why she would even bring up that story now out of the blue. And as far as Seth Green, he probably deserved to get thrown in a trash can. He's a little prick.
Oh, so it's okay then.
Well, and if you're getting thrown in a trash can by Bill Murray as a kid, it's like a badge of honor. I mean, come on. How many people can tell that story for the rest of their life?
Oh, not too many.
On Saturday Night Live, no less. I mean, he was lucky enough to be a kid working on Saturday Night Live at that time. I mean, but no.
Yeah, just a kid that was being interviewed. Like it was what, like 81 or something like that?
Somewhere in there.
And you know
Eddie
what?
Murphy was there. I know that much.
Every actor goes through their I'm the greatest person in the world stage. And then if they're decent human beings, they come out of it at the end being somewhat humble. I think Dustin Hoffman, I don't know the man, but he went through a period where, wow, this is some bundle of ego, that we've got here doing good work. And then now he takes any job that comes up and seems to be enjoying himself, and doesn't seem to have the same attitude that at least he brought to the table earlier. So has he really changed? I have no idea, but it's refreshing to see him being so comfortable and seemingly happy about the stuff that he's doing, because I like him as an actor. So I don't know. They're human beings. They go through their own.
Aaron Eckhart had a beautiful turn, because I remember when I was starting out writing, he already had the reputation of being a jerk.
Who's this?
Aaron Eckhart.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And because he thought that's how people of his stature, as he was on the rise, behaved. And then he learned it wasn't healthy for him, because his relationships were falling apart around him. And then he just changed gears, and he ended up doing more independent films, was far more affable. When you see him interviewed more recently, he's this really jovial type of humble person, and he talks about this story of his arc and tries to convey that to other actors. Like, yeah, just because you're the hottest thing right now doesn't mean that's not going to go away. So don't act like a jerk to everyone. And it's like, wow, that's a revelation that you never really see those types of public type of stories.
And it's not restricted to actors. I've never talked about this, but one of the most curious things about Hollywood is that if you've got an executive and you're an acolyte, not an acolyte, but you're a junior to that person, and let's say that person's a complete asshole, that you pick up their modus operandi. I saw it over and over again, and once that person leaves, and you continue in imitating their methodology or method, then eventually you kind of develop your own, and you realize, wait a second, that wasn't the right way to do things. But I saw it over and over again, that the person you followed around, you picked up their skills or their method, and if they're swearing and they're jerks, you become a jerk also. That's very common.
Oh yeah, it's the osmosis of assholes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing I was kind of saying.
Osmosis as Jesus.
Was outside of the recent incident with the Aziz Ansari movie, which got shut down, mind you, because of this whole thing. This is the first time Bill has ever commented on any of these accusations in his history, of all the things that have ever come out.
He talked about it earlier.
Yeah, well, all he said about it was I thought I said or did something. I can't remember exactly how I put it, because something I thought was funny as a kid was no longer funny. Times have changed, and I apologize for that. And it sounded like he probably said some off-color joke or something to that effect. Keke Palmer was the one who put it out there in the first place. Then all of a sudden, Baloney puts out this story about basically an accusation of assault on the set, borderline assault anyway, let's say. And it doesn't match Murray's MO. There was a supposed payout. Of course, no sources are named. No other witnesses are named. Nobody else has come out to confirm this. So you have nothing to back up this story. And as far as the rest of the stuff, like I was saying last night, we've never heard Bill's side of the story on any of these other things. We've never heard him talk about Chevy Chase. We've never heard him talk about Harold Ramis's stuff. We've never heard him talk about any of the times with, like, on Scrooge, where him and Donner got into it, and he made Carol Kane and Karen Allen cry. We've known all these stories for years, and especially the Charlie's Angels one that's been talked to death. But one thing he has never done is commented on it. But I'll tell you what, they have said that story about Charlie's Angels a few times, and I can see where Bill's probably coming from on that story. Because first of all, I've heard plenty of stories about Lucy Liu being a bitch herself. Second of all, Bill Murray is somebody who, when he commits to something, he is 110% committed. He may not show up right away, and if he doesn't show up, he's not going to show up at all. But once he does show up, that means he's there and he's committed. And if other people are not playing the game with him, he will let them know. And that's what it sounded like it happened on Charlie's Angels, is he called out the unprofessionalism of the other actors, and he keyed in on Lucy Liu, and he's like, I don't even know why the fuck you're here, because you can't act, because she probably pissed him off. But he has never commented, never said anything. They're all their sides of the story, never his sides of the story. So, like, at this point, I'm willing to give it we only know one part of the story here. I've heard plenty of stories where Bill Murray is one of the most gracious, giving people in the world. But I can also see from a point of view of somebody who commits like he does, if he comes to a set and if people are fucking around, he's probably going to get pissed, because he looks at his time is precious. I'm here to do this. Let's do this job. You guys are pissing around. I want to get this done, right? Like, that's the way he is. If it's not for the money, he's there because he wants to be there. And there's only a few projects where I can sit there and go, yeah, he did that for the money, like Garfield, for instance, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like other than that,
Ghostbusters 2016.
Exactly. Well, he did that because there's a long story to that. The short version is he got threatened legally.
Oh,
right, Andre?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But he got a good payday.
Broke that. We found like the leaked emails. So this isn't rumor or anything like that. This is straight from the leaked Sony emails, where Amy Pascal and her second in command are basically, or I think he was even discussing it with Michael Linton, the then head of Sony, directly, which lawyers they were going to sick on the original Ghostbusters to make sure that they would be in the movie.
They basically ended up buying Bill Murray out of his Ghostbusters ownership to get him to get in there. They gave him a big fat payday. But yeah.
Yeah, go check
so
out
he basically showed up in Afterlife.
Coverage.
He showed up in Afterlife with no obligation. That's the beauty of it. He was obligated to show up for 2016 because they were going to threaten him for trying to destroy the movie and all this other shit. It was a big, long thing they went through.
They were brilliant in it. What can I say?
Yeah, they brilliantly put themselves back in right where they began to begin with, basically. Then we have Olaf Van S here who says, a lovely panel again today. Should be a fun stream. Well, hopefully you guys are having fun. Scott
I'm
McKenzie
waiting to start.
Oh, well, shit, I should hit the button, huh? Scott McKenzie says Scott McKenzie is a new member. I'm sorry about that. Thank you so much for being a member. You guys help keep the lights on here more than you know. Chad Rupnerine says, hey, Scripty, any interest in covering stories in video games? Would be interesting to get a professional writer's opinion on a lot of that stuff.
Maybe in the future. I enjoyed the first two Mass Effect stories. I might examine those in the near future. Or
I do know from some minimal experience, writing a video game is much different than writing a movie or television show. Yeah.
Well, it depends. If you're writing a video game that has specific like cinematic choices, you have to have a number of variables. If you're writing a platform game, it's pretty straightforward because it's just get to the end. There are mini quests. But yeah, it's I've never written a video game before. I do know people who have, and it is complex.
Yeah, and you're dealing with something called funneling.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of funneling. So we can talk about that later.
Notes.
It's huge. Your script for your video game is like this big.
Yeah.
Cards and sticky notes, I remember a lot of. Anyway, Psychotic says She-Hulk is a sheet slitter. She is the slickest sheet slitter in the whole sheet slitting world. Thank you, Psychotic. You're trying to trip me up there. I know what you're doing.
I need to get a definition.
And you did it for the most part.
Sheet slitting.
Sheet slitting. Vincent Leon says Hulk 2003 was the best version and most accurate for his powers and personality for Banner and all of the MCU.
Which one was 2003?
That's the Ang Lee one.
Is that the Norton one?
No, the Eric Bana one.
That's the Eric Bana one.
I agree with part of your assessment here, and part of it I disagree with. There was a lot of aspects in that Hulk movie that I did enjoy and I liked, and I thought he got right. But then he turned around and turned the whole goddamn thing into a fart cloud at the end.
Hulk fights a cloud. Okay.
Yep. When the clear setup is okay, Daddy can now absorb powers. Why wouldn't he just absorb Hulk powers and you have two Hulks fighting each other? That makes sense.
Well, because then he could get hit. If he's a cloud, you can't hit a cloud. But Hulk could inhale a cloud and then swallow him and then, either burp or fart him out later.
Because I'll tell you what, I enjoyed Ang Lee's take on this. I'm going to bring a comic book to life. I loved a lot of the transitions. I even didn't hate the Hulk dog fight, even though some people do, I know. I didn't mind the idea that the angrier he got, the bigger he got. I thought that was kind of an interesting addition to the mythos. And as far as just the rest of the stuff, I thought they casted it well. Like, what's his face is
Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte is great in it, but the Thunderbolt.
Sam Neill.
No, not Sam Neill. He's from
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott. Thank you. Sam Elliott as Thunderbolt was fucking spot on, and stuff like that. I mean, and I thought the Hulk. Yeah, I thought the Hulk looked better in the Ang Lee version that he kind of did in some later Marvel stuff here, which is sad. But overall,
I doubt if he looked better than Scar from She-Hulk.
Actually, but as far as the ending goes, yeah, the ending fucked it all up, and the Norton Hulk is a bit more straightforward and a bit better constructed, let's say, and the ending is at least a better payoff. I don't know, Andre. I know you have a bit different a take on
Absolutely. First of all, I will also say that, Vincent, you are partially right, and there are things here which are very, very accurate to the origin of the Hulk with his father and everything like that. It is very clear that Ang Lee, or rather his screenwriter, whose name I forgot right now in this moment, had read the seminal issue of The Incredible Hulk from, I don't recall the exact issue, shortly after 300, written by Bill Mantlo, but story not by him, where we basically learn the life and times of Bruce Banner. And they did a really good take on this here, which is basically that not anyone who is irradiated with gamma rays can become a Hulk. No, there was something else there, because his father, Brian Banner, was also irradiated. They got this right. Here in this movie, the father was also doing research in his own stuff, which meant that Bruce Banner was born with a slight genetic mutation, which meant that he was susceptible to the gamma rays, and that would just unlock something in him.
Instead of just
and at the same time, he had a really horrible, messed up childhood, which meant that the personality of the Hulk formed right there, and then the rest was kind of like meant to be. It's kind of like a Greek tragedy. You see, the father was always afraid that the son would become a monster, so he mistreated him. And it was that mistreatment that made him the monster, the Hulk. There's like the Greek tragedy aspect to the Hulk in that sense. And Ang Lee, he got that. That's what appealed to him about the movie. And I will give him endless credit for actually doing that. Especially this one shot after Banner is irradiated, then we kind of like see a door just open to symbolize that's the Hulk coming out. He wasn't born, he wasn't created there, he was always there. And this is just when he emerged.
Right.
And we also see this like later in the scene between Nick Nolte and Eric Bana, when he says, "I want to see my son." And Eric Bana says, I'm here. No, not you, I meant my real son, the Hulk. You see, like that was all perfect. So I'll give him massive credit for that. But still, they changed things, which I was not a fan of. Like, for instance, the name of Banner in this movie. Most people aren't aware, but his name isn't Banner because he's adopted. He's Bruce Krensler, not Banner. And I didn't like how he was portrayed to be this milksop. I did mind the size changes. I thought that was completely ridiculous. I didn't like that at all.
Pants can only stretch so far.
And that's why Ang Lee wanted the
unless you're wearing the Dockers
to run around.
The Dockers stretch pants. Those are good. They're very comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. So
still more realistic than anything in the Marvel universe.
And speaking of, I also had like one problem with the animation, and this is 100% on Ang Lee, because he wanted it to be that way. I liked how the Hulk looked there, but he had no gravity. He was basically just like, when you look at the animation, he was just like a puffed up balloon without any real gravity to him. And Ang Lee, he also did the motion capture himself because he knew exactly how he wanted it. And I thought that was a huge mistake, because when you look at it, the Hulk kind of moves like an angry Asian child with a temper tantrum.
So pretty much the only thing we disagree on is really just the size thing.
Yeah. That, to me, that was a big sticking point.
So you're saying you liked the green play I can leave anytime you want, guys. I'm not contributing anything.
No, you are always welcome here. We love having you here, Paul.
But I do prefer the 2008 movie, but
Yeah,
the 2003 one, it did a lot of right. I'm just upset about all the things it did wrong. Like, for instance, the cloud towards the end. I guess that I see what Ang Lee was trying to do, how it was a battle of will and of power and of unresolved conflicts, but the way that they chose to express it on screen, yeah, that kind of evaporated.
No, that's the moment you turn it into a pure comic book movie. And like, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but like I said, when he tries to take his power, it should have just been a Hulk versus a Hulk, like an older Hulk versus,
More importantly, what were the box offices for the two movies?
Oh,
the Hulk did okay. The Hulk, they did okay.
Just okay. They didn't become giant successes.
Well, you have to understand also, like when Hulk came out in 2003, we'd really only had X-Men and Spider-Man were the only two big.
It was massive hype because of Spider-Man.
Yeah, because of Spider-Man. And then
so the 2003 movie, it opened huge, but it had a massive second weekend drop.
And I think that was because of the word of mouth and shit. Yeah. It also didn't help that it leaked online early.
It did.
That version did, and it was an early version of the film, but it still leaked online early, so I don't think that helped it at all.
I was just curious because I mean, no matter how bad a movie is, numbers count. The first Wakanda Black Panther movie as a movie is not particularly good, but it was $1 billion movie, so all is forgiven.
The 2000 the MCU one though, at that point, I think it would have benefited more had people had an idea of what the fuck was going on. Because that was the movie that we all realized, oh shit, they're doing a big connected universe, not just like bringing in other characters. Like, because at that point it was two separate studios, and you had Robert Downey Jr. pop it at the end of Hulk, and you're like, wait a minute here, what's going on? And so people kind of started picking up on this idea of what was really, really going on. And so I think if they had that idea, it would have helped. But you got to remember, this was like the second movie in the MCU. And at that point, nobody knew there was a thing called the MCU, so a lot of people thought it was a sequel to the Ang Lee Hulk. That was another problem you had. A lot of people did. Yeah. And because they called it the Incredible Hulk. And when it came out on video, I had the same problem with people. I had to tell them, no, this is its own thing. It's a new thing. It's actually connected to Iron Man and and that confused people, but at that point, the best I could tell them is, no, it's not a sequel to the old one. It's a completely new movie.
It would have been more interesting with the Mark Ruffalo one, where as Hulk, he voted for Trump, but as Bruce Banner, he voted Democrat.
But what about Smart Hulk?
Which one?
What about Smart Hulk, though? Then he can't make up his mind.
Smart Hulk, then he can't make up his mind. Yeah, I think that's a good one. I like.
But yeah, you get Andre and I talking about actual Hulk. We'll be here almost as long as if we start talking about He-Man or Conan. Then we got Mr. Tickle Trunk in the house. How you doing?
Hey, Mr. Tickle Trunk.
And says, objectively, critics are review bombing Black Adam. This is true. Technically, you're right. I mean, I guess they're being honest. Here's the thing. They're giving Black Adam the score I would expect them to give most superhero movies.
That's a good point.
Is it really a review bomb if they're only doing one review? Because isn't the concept of review bombing? It's a number of people. Right. It's one person doing a number of reviews.
That's the
it's just that there's so many accredited reviewers. Yeah, they loved Love and Thunder.
Yeah,
inexplicably. What does it have? Like a 70 something?
Might
it's a terrible movie.
Mm-hmm. Actually, believe it or not, Love and Thunder has a much better audience rating than you think, but that could be Rotten Tomatoes finagling with it too.
I don't understand.
Surprisingly, all these Marvel movies still have pretty high ratings. The only ones that don't, believe it or not, the lowest rating Marvel movie, guess which one it is? It's not even the one you'd think it is.
The lowest one.
Is it Hulk? Is it the Incredible Hulk?
Third Iron Man.
No. And I think most people would think it's the Eternals. It's actually Captain Marvel. The one they started this whole thing trying to fortify it with.
But it was a billion dollar movie.
It's still the lowest rating on Rotten Tomatoes as far as Marvel movies go.
It's not a good movie.
Captain Marvel. Yep. Yeah. Eternals just barely beat it, but yeah.
Yep, that's
because it has like a 60 something, and Eternals has like a 70 something, but the rest of the Marvel movies are in the 80-90 percentile with the audience.
With the audience,
even Thor: Love and Thunder is in that 80 percentile.
And you know, we have to be careful too, because I have engaged individuals that like stuff that I don't. I mean, I've talked with people who love She-Hulk, people who love Rings of Power, and I listen to them and I probe them. I mean, not in an alien invasion way, but I mean, and I'm just curious as to their motivation, their experience, what kind of creative experience, what kind of creative background they might have. And there's people who just find enjoyment out of these shows, and I don't like stripping them. My goal, if I complain about something, is not to strip people of their enjoyment of it. It is interesting to find out what their motivation is. But I mean, you can tell people quantitatively, here's the things that are bad about the thing. This is what they did wrong, but they don't care, and they don't care.
Let me tell you something from a critic's point of view, that because I've been one for a lot of years. A lot of people take shit personally when you don't like something, and they do.
Well, there's that too.
That's what it's more about, I think, Paul, than anything, because you're just being honest. You're just telling your opinion on something.
Well, it's my opinion.
And some people also take that shit personally. Like, they think, oh, you're saying something is stupid, hence you're saying I'm stupid, right?
Of course.
No, some people don't know how to separate that. Like me, the one I always go to recently has been Morbius, right? I know that is objectively a bad fucking movie, right? I love it for all the wrong reasons. I will sit there and listen to anybody bash that movie all day long, and there may be a few things I would defend on it, but at no point will I stop and go, you're full of shit. Morbius should have won the Oscar for Best Picture of all time. You know, I'm not going to take it personally that you think Morbius is the worst fucking thing to ever be put to celluloid.
Some people take it
never touched celluloid. Exactly. That's the thing. And I think that's the problem we have, is that we have a lot, and it's not, sometimes it's just a personal thing. Some people have to learn how to deal with it.
One of my stand-up jokes is, the stuff I have is proof that you've bought the wrong shit.
That sounds interesting.
You know? Like, why aren't you driving that Toyota IM? Are you stupid? Like,
no, it's just proof you bought the wrong shit.
You just bought the wrong shit. You are all idiots unless you bought the same stuff I have. So that, I mean, I think that goes to what you're talking about.
And but I think that in the case, sorry, I did not mean to interrupt, Tom.
No.
But like in many cases, I think those that you mentioned, Tom, that get personally offended or hurt and sad and upset if you don't like what they did. I think that these are people with far greater issues than the movie or series.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah. Because they need that validation. They need, yes, I like the same thing as you.
That is part of it, Andre.
You are normal. I'm like
worse
you.
Than that. There's
another side of it too. Another side of it too is like people don't like to be told they're wrong, right? Or they, especially if they start to think and realize that they might be wrong, then they turn into this, you know, they move into like defensive phase, right? And that's where, you know, oh well, I can't be wrong because of it. And Script Doctor and I have done this. He's done this to me 100 fucking times now. And it started with Rogue One, the dirty bastard. And he does it every time. And it's like, at first I'm realizing, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm just clinging to my own personal thing. And then I have to stop, reassess things, and realize Script is actually just talking from a technical standpoint. And he is correct. That doesn't mean I can't enjoy it.
I don't want you to not enjoy it. Yeah,
exactly. He's never trying to take him. And I mean, I'll joke with him about it.
Script Doctor.
Yes, the truth is, I need to learn to quit talking to Script Doctor. But no, I'm just kidding.
Well,
no, he gives me different points of view on things. But
there's science behind this. More people read reviews about the stuff they've bought after they've purchased it, because they need confirmation that they got the right car, the right camera, the right, dish hutch. They don't do the research beforehand. In fact, the vast majority of people don't even take their a car out for a test drive before they buy the particular car. So yeah, after they've got it, they want confirmation. That's all true. And people now are micro triggered because I had a joke in a video not too long ago where, it's the Mr. Canoehead one, where I talked about the fact that I was lucky enough to have universal health care in Canada after I got hit by a bolt of lightning. And the number, I got a dozen, at least, Americans, of course, who were furious with the fact that I talked about that. It wasn't really universal health care. You're paying through it with your taxes. I'm unsubscribing. It was just like, I'm a guy with wearing a stupid aluminum canoe on his head talking about universal health care, and you took me seriously. This is how triggered people are.
Yeah, you have that too. There's that's just something you can't do anything about. This.
No, but it's the same side of the coin.
It is. And you're right. Sometimes, and this is funny because just the other day, my buddy was looking for a computer chair and he asked my opinion on it. I'm like, well, read the reviews. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, there's a buttload of reviews there. And he just showed me the stars. I'm like, no, don't go by the stars.
No.
Read the actual reviews. Because once you go down to the actual reviews, you got people saying, oh, this thing fell apart. I weigh this much and it's supposed to have that. It's like, then you actually see
the 1 stars. Yeah.
Always. Yeah. That's what I said. Start with the worst reviews. So then you'll know what the problems are going to be. And if they're common problems, I said, pay attention to see if they're common problems. Like if it's more people than one have the same problem, then that's not just one defect. That's a problem.
Tell your friend, don't buy any chair from Staples. Done.
I learned that the hard way. No.
Actually, I got mine from Staples, but it's a Serta chair. It's really good, durable.
I got a Serta one, but I don't like it.
I've returned. Yeah. I got a Tom chair. These are $700 each. Fantastic.
I need to get a better one of these days. But anyhow, moving on to
spend the money. You get a proper chair.
Because these guys have been infinitely patient, and we appreciate it. We're way behind here. 52 movies a year says Black Adam was fun. DC stop trying to team up. Movie.
Stop trying to start with a team up movie.
Yeah, can't talk today at all. Justice Society felt like a distraction. Yeah, that was something you brought up, Andre. Did they feel like they were just kind of a shove in there because they were afraid that people weren't going to quite know who Black Adam was, maybe?
I think that, again, this is one of the places where you can tell that the movie has been retooled. I think that the Justice Society's parts were cut down to only what was strictly necessary for the interaction with Black Adam. It's not really a team-up movie. It's in so much as in the current cut, which you have to recall, this is a movie that's a product of 2 different administrations. The previous administration made one movie, and then a new administration came in, and they changed it. They cut it to hell and reassembled it again, and that's the movie that we've got right now. So what I will say that, yeah, Justice Society, they do feel like something of a distraction, and they feel kind of like silly and useless, and that's because their role that remains is basically to trigger a conflict between them and Black Adam, and to emphasize that there's a new power player in town, and the DC universe is changed now, which I only realized thanks to pointing it out to me. But yeah, there's essentially a new god in the picture. This is someone who can take down Superman. How do you deal with that? How do you even show that? How do we get to that? That's what they're for. They are there to make Black Adam shine in this version of the movie.
I haven't seen it yet, obviously, but one thing I can see coming up as a gripe among actual comic book fans who are fans of Black Adam or aware of him, is that it sounds like they went too much into the anti-hero route, which is a more modern version of the character.
Not really. I mean, it's they've been trying to do it and they keep failing because Black Adam's a villain.
That's the same. Well, I was just going to get to that point, Script, is that I think the mistake they made here, and this is just, I'm curious if you agree with this, seeing the film. Andre, feel free to disagree with me, obviously, because you have. But I wonder if it would have been better served had they brought in another Suicide Squad team instead, since those guys are all bad guys going up against Black Adam. You can still have fun, and they're both bad guys. So at that point, there's still a bit more of a ambiguity as to who is really good or bad. You know what I mean?
I think they didn't go that route because they just didn't have enough time to do that. I think it would take a lot of preparation and work, and they didn't want to make a mistake, or as many of you have already said, maybe they had to change a few things around. They opted for more violent fighting scenes versus, worrying whether or not these two kids who had to pop their superhero cherry for the first time could even step to the plate and do anything, since they weren't really capable of doing anything at all. They just had to witness what was going on, and that was fine for this film. I think that it really needed to be all about Black Adam this time. That too many distractions in this with some other well-accomplished superheroes, I think, would have taken away from the shine. And right now, we just needed it to be focusing on Black Adam. So I'm glad that they didn't do it. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been a great idea, and it probably would have been enjoyable to see, some real pounding, but I'm almost glad that they didn't, because we don't even have to think about those reactions, and we're fine since they were there just, to be there, so to speak.
I have a slightly different take on it. I think that, the movie would have been better served if it had been someone other than the Justice Society, because I'm not familiar with the Justice Society from the comics, but they do come across as kind of useless tools in here, every single one of them. And I think it would have been better and also made more sense. They did. They completely disrespected the JSA, I can only imagine. But I think that it would have made more sense, even internally within the movie, if Amanda Waller had sent in a Suicide Squad, because that would justify them acting like such tools. I mean, I would kind of expect, this was what pulled me out of the Justice Society. I would expect them to know that we have to be a tiny little bit diplomatic here. We have to use some finesse to get this guy over to us. We can't go in. We are aware of who this is. We know, or we can reasonably expect what he is going to respond well to and what he's going to respond badly to. And I'm not going to spoil here and now the line that they greet him with, but I will say that there is, in no universe could they have chosen a worse opening line than the one that they did. It was there's nothing they could have said that would have been worse and more antagonizing than what they did. Now, I would not expect that out of the Justice Society, of someone who's supposed to be heroes, but I would expect it out of a Suicide Squad with a bunch of losers. And also, it would make perfect sense for Amanda Waller to we're not going to sacrifice our heroes on this. We're going to throw in some really powerful bad dudes just to see what we're up against here. Just to get
Amanda Waller recruited. So are you saying that Amanda Waller, her character, is the one that shed light or asked for the JSA to get involved in this? Because the JSA
probably should not have spoiled that, but yes.
The JSA
if that's the case, then holy shit. Sorry, Script. What did you say?
The JSA are supposed to hate her. In fact, the JSA and the Justice League are supposed to hate her for a very long time because she's not a good person at all.
I didn't even know that. I just asked that because I know a lot of classic comic book fans are going to be upset that they kind of did the anti-hero route because they like Black Adam as a villain.
Yeah.
And that's where I said I think it would make more sense putting him up against more villains, because then you can kind of question which one's the worst villain here, right? Exactly. And if Amanda Waller's already part of it, then that's fucking stupid.
I agree. This is a problem. If there was more time, they probably should have cut the JSA from the movie altogether and replaced them with the Suicide Squad. That would have made more sense.
And it doesn't even have to be the main squad.
No.
Another Suicide Squad, a different one.
There's no main
There's
squad to the Suicide Squad.
I know. That's my point. Yeah.
I think the film would have had a completely different feel if they had done that. It wouldn't have been
I think that would have been better.
I think they should give Amanda Waller superpowers.
Well,
she already has them. She has the power to
she has the power of the corrupt government behind her.
She is one of my favorite characters in any of the superhero.
She is a very interesting character. Yeah.
Well, she's a tragic one. She's from the street. She lost a couple of her kids to gang violence, and the ironic aspect is that she, in her position in the government, essentially leads gangs to commit violence for the sake and security of the U.S. interests.
And
she is the very thing that turned her into.
She's unambiguous.
Yeah.
I loved her character.
So then why do you guys think that they didn't decide to go with a stronger team fighting against Black Adam then?
I'd have to go
I
see
can
the
answer
movie.
that. I can answer that. Because the previous administrations, the ones that did this, are stupid. No, really. Look at their previous movie. It's that simple. They're inept. They're incompetent.
He's not
stupid.
wrong. This is basically Walter Hamada and them guys' fault.
I mean, basically, it's like Ansarnov would have said something like, "Oh, give us some girl power and some wokeness. I mean, loads of diversity. Bring in some famous names." And then Walter Hamada would go to like his DC guys and like say, "Okay, you guys, tell me someone famous in DC that we haven't used that. Who's in the Justice League? Okay, we have something called Justice Society. Well, great, we'll use those." That's how it happened. I guarantee you. There was no more thought to it. If there had been thought, it would have been another Suicide Squad, a brand new team we haven't seen before, because they would all be dead by the end of the movie. Or really by the end of the first interaction with Black Adam. That would have made more sense in the movie than wasting the Justice Society on this. And really, most of the woke complaints that there are addressed at the changes to the Justice Society. That I have gotten from the comments to my review. That
I don't know. The detachable arm guy probably could have, done some damage with Black Adam.
Well, considering how many limbs are left laying around, according to Andre, it might have been in his favor.
That actually would be fun to use him there.
Well, that's what makes sense to me.
You could replace Dr. Fate with the Wizard. He's a supervillain with magical powers. There's definitely villains that you could have incorporated with a Suicide Squad angle that could definitely face off against Black Adam. But really, like, my only disappointment with the marketing and the trailers I've seen of Black Adam is the fact that Black Adam is the opposite of Shazam or Captain Marvel. I prefer those two to be their first encounter, because you have one that's a kid who is doing something morally correct, and then the other one that's on the morally gray side of things.
Because he lost a kid.
And they are from the same comic book era and universe.
Yeah, and they get their powers from the exact same source.
Yes.
And I think there's something you can tie to the fact that Billy Batson is a kid and Black Adam lost his son.
That is tied in. That is tied in already.
There you go.
That is addressed in the movie.
The first Shazam movie could have been better, but I don't want to talk about it.
I didn't hate it. I actually enjoyed it. I mean, again, I went in it with very low expectations at that point too.
The biggest issue I had is that Zachary Levi acted like a younger kid than the kid that was acting as a kid.
Correct.
That's true. And it's kind of the big syndrome.
You nailed it. He wasn't the same Billy Batson.
Yeah.
It's kind of the big syndrome. Because Tom Hanks in Big acts younger than the kid that plays him as a kid too. And there, people just didn't really make that
remember
as much.
because
and
he wasn't a kid that long.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is he's not nearly a kid as much in Big as he is.
I think they missed out on a shit ton of jokes by not matching the age of the Shazam Billy Batson with the Billy Batson.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyway, never mind.
No, well, script's right. That's more on Zachary Levi, because he's the older actor, the more experienced actor. He should be knowing that I need to spend a bunch of time with this kid. I need to learn this kid's
wouldn't that be? It would be
quirks
in the script too,
and all that kind of shit. Yeah. And part of that's not his fault too. Part of it is the script. You're right, Paul. So like there is that aspect of it too. But as the star, he could also have done that just to work that in there. But again, if the director didn't allow him to, there are variables. I understand.
Oh, of course. Oh my God. And it could have been studio notes. Could have been studio notes. I like to make them younger. It's going to be funnier. You don't know. Studio notes are pervasive.
Yeah. But here in Shazam 2, we have a problem with what? He's like looking like he's like 15, 16 already. That's another problem we have.
Well, it's been a few years. Kids
it has.
Grow quickly that age.
Packing on a few pounds.
Well, that's what Tommy Lee Wallace couldn't fathom when I told him that the new It was being shot in two separate films. He's like, well, that's fucking stupid. Because he shot the original It. So he made sure all the kids' stuff was done first and out of the way, because he's like, that's the problem you have is overnight you have a kid shoot up a foot. Next thing you know, they're going through puberty and their voice drops. You got to deal with that shit. So he's like, I shot all that stuff first and got it done.
I think the bottom line with all the mess that all the superhero movies have gotten into so far, the Black Adam thing points to I think to a key is just to return it to the original source and make it as naive. Don't try to make it sophisticated. I think that's what people want. For a period of time, it was really cool to see comic books kind of grow up, but I think that's dead. We don't want that anymore. We want the original naive.
Well, I like a variation.
Don't be afraid of the comic book. That comic book made waves as it was. Don't be afraid of that. And I think the dark take is basically acknowledging that they're afraid of being having fun with those characters. Because I agree. Every character's dark. Then none of them are special because they're all going to be the same.
Well, I take as a great example is the Captain America films, right? As far as MCU goes, because you got a variation in each one. The first one's an adventure,
was great
film, a war film, that kind of a thing. The second one's an intrigue conspiracy theory film.
Jordan Peterson, I believe, in the first film.
And then the third film, of course, is Civil War. So it's this balls out, like just fun action, kind of a little bit serious, but popcorn film, not nearly as serious as the last one.
Well,
right?
It goes from domestic to so you got the war aspect thing of like him and Brooklyn and kind of coming into zone. Winter Soldier is a bit more of like national security stuff, and then you've got Civil War, which is on the world.
Soldier was the Bucky one.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
And then the Civil War was on the international aspect of things, where it's not World War I. Should this elite team of heroes be traveling internationally and solving other countries' problems?
Well, I'm talking more about the tone, right? I'm talking more about the tone, and that's what I'm saying is you can take you can tell a Batman story, one that's dark, one that's a little bit more lighter, and you can still make them work, right? Like there's different ways you can take these characters. I don't have a problem with them taking, even Thor is another example. The first film was a bit more of a dramedy, right? An action dramedy. There's a little bit of fun and humor in the fish out of water aspect of it, but there was still some seriousness to it. The second film, of course, went way dour and dark. People didn't care for that. Third film countered that with going completely the other direction. Now people like Andre and I love Thor Ragnarok, and I understand why people don't love Thor Ragnarok, because it was a complete 180 from what we just had, and it's a bit more of a deviation from the first film, but I love the variations, right? I don't see why we can't just foster this idea that you can tell a different kind of story in any one of these, with any one of these characters every film. Like the problem with DC coming up to this point, and probably up until, say, Shazam, was that it was all dark and dour. The only exception being the Suicide Squad, and that was still pretty dark. It was just because it had bright colors and was edited like a music video that it didn't feel like a Snyder film, right? Even Wonder Woman is dour. It is gray through the whole entire film once they leave Themyscira. It's not very hopeful. It does have some action sequences and some fun moments, especially when she does the walk, across the war field and all that shit. But like, other than that, up to that point, that's probably why I liked Shazam. And I keep saying as a joke, but it's true, it was the best Marvel movie that DC had made, is because it was finally them going out of the norm, but it was also the beginning of the shit, right? Like the next things down the road were Birds of Prey and, some of these other stinkers we've had since then. And I'm afraid that's where Flash is going to feel a lot more like Birds of Prey. You're probably right that Black Adam was a bit more in the Snyder, like darkerness, and then they also had a lot of the notes from the studio, like you said. I'm sure that's why they've got half those characters in there.
I think they got the get out of the universe stuff, because the comic books were actually fun when it was clear that the property was handed over to a different writing and different art style team, and then you got a run that you just enjoyed. So I mean, I've got an example here of a She-Hulk in this style. This was a whole run in this style, and it's great, and it's fun, and it's more childlike. And why not make a movie?
It's almost like an Archie Comics style.
It's almost like an Archie Comics, and it's got, I mean, it's really well done. It's fun in its own right, and I think people need to be, I don't know if trained is the right word, but to get off the universe trick and suddenly have, why not? I mean, in some sense, Ragnarok was the right way to go.
I agree in that sense.
But don't duplicate it. That was it. We don't
That is true.
don't need to see another Ragnarok. Then let's see another, Kenneth Branagh style Shakespearean one. I think that is how you make this universe of superheroes survive.
Well, and actually, I agree with you in the sense that Love and Thunder should have been more of a romance film, right? Not a romantic comedy, but a film about losing love, right? Like, it should have been more about that aspect of it.
I wanted more love. I wanted that.
Don't unsuperhero Thor. That was what killed that movie.
That, and then I don't like Jane personally, and
I thought she was good.
But I felt that the biggest problem with that movie was the last moments that Thor and her get together alone are built on a joke, and her basically telling him, this, that, and the other. And it's like really badly done and poorly done. They don't get a real good last moment together, and it's really sad. It's like, he had deserved that much. She deserved that much. We followed these characters now for over 10 years. The least you could have done is give them a little bit more than this. And then you hear the interviews with Taika Waititi where he goes, "Oh, the story was sacrificed for jokes." It's like, there's your problem right there.
She dies at the end in the same way as the comic books.
That part's true, but if you remember, their last moment together alone, purely alone, was on the boat. And it's her basically making him feel like shit, and then he makes a joke, cracks a joke, and it's the end of the scene. That's their last
moment of them was her in the hospital bed.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't there other people in the room with them though?
No,
because I thought
the hospital bed scene I thought was really good. Was a great way to end it.
Because then she shows up at the very end, right?
She does, but after the hospital bed scene.
Okay, so yeah, you're right.
They don't go together.
Well, yeah, that's right. They don't leave together. You're right. I was mixing that with the other part.
Yeah, like I said, if you read 40 years worth of She-Hulk, which I'm slowly getting through, I think that's the only way to keep any of this stuff interesting is to, take the John Byrne era of something, make a movie of that style, and then the next one is more cartoony, because these things are being taken way too seriously, and we're losing sight of just what it was that made the comic books themselves interesting. And don't have Superman's son deep throating another guy.
Well, and as I just said in the background here, script, I'm like, well, that's how fucking memorable the hospital scene then was, evidently, because I forgot that it came last.
I remember.
Like, it was unimportant.
I've forgotten half the movie already.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was such a bad fucking movie. I even sat there. Basically, I was like, Doctor Strange was actually better than this, and that was horrible. Like, at least that was a movie. This is barely a movie.
That was a bait and switch. At least you got to see more Thor in this.
Yeah. I would still, if I had to get forced at gunpoint to watch either one of them again, I even said I'd probably pick Doctor Strange, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, you're right.
Simply because it's an actual story and it's followable, and I think it's a half hour shorter. Like, there's those three things alone. Anyway, Dark King says, I want a blaxploitation version of Black Adam. That would be awesome. That's what I wanted.
Blaxploitation. I mean, I love period. Those. They're fun.
Me too. Like, I was pissed that when I remember we were joking around, but I was actually being serious. Like, when we got Solo, I'm like, I don't want fucking Solo. I want Lando Calrissian movie, and I want it in full blown blaxploitation form. And we watched that trailer.
I showed you the trailer. Those fans. Yeah, I showed you the fan mail trailer, the Black Star Warrior.
I'm like, I fucking want that movie.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to see a Foxy Brown movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great character. She was one of my favorite characters from the blaxploitation.
That was one of the charms of Jackie Brown, right? Was that Tarantino managed to throw in just a flavor of that, not overdoing it, but just a flavor of it.
I didn't see it, but yeah, I understand that's what he was doing.
Yeah, it's it's actually one of his. It's a
really good movie.
I'm not going to say it's one of his better films. It's one of his most non-Tarantino films.
There's a love story in it that's really compelling.
Well, and the best thing is he's telling Elmore Leonard's novel, and he doesn't go out of his way to be overly Quentin Tarantino at the same time. It's like it's all equal Tarantino, equal Elmore Leonard, with a sprinkle of blaxploitation, and a great group of characters doing what Tarantino characters and Elmore Leonard characters do.
I had mentioned to Script Doctor, I'd love to write a movie which is so ridiculously been engineered as an intersectional movie, and no one talks about it. So the femme fatale is a 6'2" trans woman, and is able to attract men in Mission Impossible kind of situations, Ocean's 11, donning a disguise, but there's midgets, people in wheelchairs, wrong casting, everything is ridiculously wrong. It looks like a freak show from a carnival, yet you do it straight, completely straight. It's the studio intersectional perfect movie.
Paul, I have to say, I think we have. We're going to work together on this. Make this like the first Midnight's Edge production.
I love it.
Can it star a 6-foot black trans person?
Of course. It has to go completely.
We'll call it.
Top.
I got a title. No Shaft.
Or Big Shaft.
I was thinking the intersectional. It
was there
job.
at one time.
Hidden Shaft.
What were you saying? Scripts are.
There's the intersectional job.
Yes.
Ocean's Transition, which is what I responded to.
Yes,
that's a good one too. Yeah,
and
I think we'll have to work on that.
But you do it completely. You don't make fun of it. You don't draw attention to it. You just write a script that feels correct, and then you just populate it, cast it completely the way an intersectional Hollywood movie would be cast, but to the extreme.
Exactly, and you play completely straight. I agree, and I'm a big fan of that general approach. It's basically just to repeat it and highlight it completely, without any exaggeration. Just
and no winking,
make it pure to highlight the insanity of it all.
Correct.
Yep. No tongue in cheek, no winking. It's straight. It's earnest. It's.
We already have this movie though, guys. It's called Escape from L.A. Shit. It literally has most of the things we just said in it.
Yeah, kind of. Too many men, though.
Right down to Foxy Brown playing.
Pam Grier playing a trans.
Grier playing a trans person.
I mean, you just have to make
Wheel Gear
play Snake Plissken.
Yeah,
Goldie Hawn. Yes.
Oh Lord!
Oh my God!
Thank you, Rogue Thinker, for being a member for 7 months. We appreciate that. John Evan Bear sends in a toonie and says, "What would happen to the DCU if Black Adam bombed?"
Well, we'll wait. We'll find out.
I think at this point, with the $7 million opening, it's not going to quite bomb, but I know it has a ways to go because I think this was a $200 million production, wasn't it, Andre?
It was $200 million. I'm thinking here based on the math, because what was the aggregate for the opening for the Batman? Because didn't you say like if something doesn't get 9 million on its previews, it's most likely not going to hit a certain number by the weekend?
That's a plausibility. The only thing this movie has going for it is a variable is that you'll have people verifying the cameo, which is a big deal, and two, that people like Andre and others are going out and saying this movie is actually pretty good.
128 million for the Batman opening weekend.
If it beats the Batman's opening weekend just by a little bit, that's good news. But if it doesn't, then here's the thing. I don't know if Warner Brothers was ever expecting this one to be $1 billion hit. The Batman, they were. That's the difference.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and with the expenses they have, I think they have to clear 800 globally in order to actually see a profit. Yeah,
I think that's about where they figure this is going to land, 700 to 800 million.
Well, the theaters take 50% of the cut, right?
Well, not the opening 47 and 54%. Yeah, on average.
Usually, opening weekend they like to get more, and especially since this isn't going streaming, I bet you Warner's taking at least 60 or 70% of the opening weekend.
And there's one thing that I think is really important to highlight here, and it's actually right there in the question: what will they do if this bombs? Here's the thing. This movie right here, it has one job and one job only technically. And that is to not sink the DCEU until Zaslaw's own movies are coming. This is something that they had in the can that they could tweak and then release, but no one is expecting this movie, a product of the previous administration, to be $1 billion hit. I guarantee you that internally in behind the scenes at Warner, they're hoping for the best. But if this only does middling numbers and doesn't do any damage to the DC brand, then they will consider the movie to have done its job.
Right.
If it bombs, that's unfortunate, but they'll see that as a testament to the damage already done to the brand, and it'll only tell them more that, yeah, this needs fixing, so we need to continue down this path. People will discover this movie.
As long
That
as
is
this
how
movie,
you have to look at this.
As long as this movie clears over 500 million worldwide, it will eventually make its money back on video. Is what'll end up happening between digital, video, all that kind of shit. It will probably,
and any subscriber increase on HBO Max,
and then when it drops on there, and that's the thing, is The Rock is somebody who I can see this movie having some kind of legs on video more so than anything. So we'll see how that goes. With the good word of mouth is going to help it, but
the advantage to it is that I'm assuming this movie is not 3 hours long.
That's the other thing. It's 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours. So then you get more showings, more screenings, which means you have a better chance of making that extra bump financially for it, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm very much of the 2 hours or 1 hour 45 to 2 hour superhero action films. That's a sweet spot. The 3 hour of the Batman was obscene.
That's right there the point. Even though this had a little bit less than Batman on its opening night, it has a chance of pulling ahead of the Batman because they'll get 20 more screenings per theater probably than they did with the Batman over the weekend.
They'll get at least 2 to 3 more a day per screen.
A day at least. Well, per screen, and that's what I'm saying. And you add up X amount of screens. That's per, some theaters that have like 10 screens, let's say, and half of the screens are going to be Black Adam at least. So there you go.
I just hope that it's as fun as everyone here has mentioned. I rewatched Shang-Chi just because I wanted some action, and
I'm actually thinking of going to see it now.
I went, you know what? Shang-Chi was not very good, and
no, it's terrible.
And I liked it more the first time actually because I'm a huge Simu Lee fan, but the second time I went, wow, this is a pretty dreadful film, and the action is not Jackie Chan, Hong Kong.
Far from it.
If they could have just kept it that, it would have been a fine, fun movie. So
I admit that where Shang-Chi is concerned, that was really like 3 or 4 different movies spliced together.
Yeah.
And only one of them was good. And that was the Fu Manchu remake in the hidden tiger, crouching dragon vein or whatever.
With his mother and father.
Yeah, exactly. Or the prequel with the father. Yeah, exactly. That thing. Basically, the Fu Manchu remake. That was the one good movie in there, and the rest of it was. It basically, it did set the tone for Phase 4 very fairly and accurately. I'll give it that.
Klobby says Shang-Chi is the worst cast lead of all Marvel movies.
No, and it was
even worse than Captain Marvel. Klobby.
I didn't mind Simu Lee, but there was just too many. What do you call it? Kung Fu minions who were obviously CGI.
That's what threw me out of the movie. I watched 5 minutes of it and I quit watching it because I'm like, what's his face in the beginning was fighting a CGI army. I'm like, yeah,
correct.
Fuck this. I'm like, I'm not watching this shit.
No, they missed an opportunity because they don't love the genre.
That's what I'm saying. Part of me, I love Kung Fu films, and I know it's not all Kung Fu. Martial arts is made of more than just Kung Fu. We just call them Kung Fu movies. I love them for the various stunts and things that they pull off in them. And when you're sitting there and you're obviously watching a CGI fest, it's like, well, there goes all the fucking.
That's it. You're done. Which is one of the things that made the first Matrix really fun.
Even though it's wire fu, but still, yeah.
No, wire fu is another genre.
Yeah.
That's you watch a wire fu movie.
I love wire fu.
Right, but they don't mix it. If you're in wire fu, it's all-time wire fu. It's like a drunken master.
Well, it's like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah, that's
or the Sword of Destiny or anything like that.
Yeah. The fantasy kung fu genre. Yeah.
And they all have to have like hair down to their knees, and when they are flying around, like the hair flies too. It's amazing.
And they had none of that in Shang-Chi. So you know what? Hopefully the DC people understand that it's not so hard to make. Not so hard to make good movies.
Yeah. Mr. Chickle Trunks asks, how many people who've seen Black Adam will go again? That's a good question. We'll have to find out. I think a lot of people, I think the Snyder fans will go again just because of the Henry Cavill aspect. But we'll have to see. This might have might have some legs to it. We don't know yet.
I enjoyed it so much. I might go see it again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see how it fares against Wakanda Forever as well. That's like what, 2 weeks away?
Yeah, actually, I got a very interesting note behind the scenes here about Wakanda Forever from one of our good friends who says that because Wakanda Forever drops next Friday, doesn't it?
Or only a week away, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it dropped on the 11th of November.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought it was another week and a half away. Or better.
That's about 3 weeks.
Okay. Yeah.
Unless you get it early
somewhere else.
Do you get it earlier
apparently the full Black Panther reviews, like not social media reactions, but the full reviews are only dropping the day before.
Ooh, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad news.
That's not
you don't want to have an embargo
of Marvel,
that close
but
to release date.
No, that is never good news. I'm going to book my Black Adam tonight. So I'm going to. I've got Cineplex up now. As soon as we're done, I'm booking it. I'm going to go see it.
Yeah, I might go see it this weekend if I get a chance. If not, hopefully in the next week or so.
You've got me so excited, Autumn.
Well, let's hope that we just didn't get you too excited, and now suddenly the movie's a letdown.
Yeah, you might want to double check, Andre, when it comes out in Norway, because it doesn't come out here till the 11th. But yeah,
at the Outdoor Arena Cinema in Norway.
I was gonna say because I knew Black Adam had a little window to where it could make some money, and
well, the embargo lifted Monday, right?
For which one?
The review embargo for Black Adam lifted Monday, didn't it?
No, it doesn't lift until
Black Adam.
Oh, Black Adam. Jesus Christ. Now you got me doing it, Andre. The opposite way. Yes, Black Adam lifted Monday. Yes, it did. And yeah.
So basically, if then the review embargo lifts almost a full working week later for Black Panther than it did for Black Adam, then that surely is not a good sign for Black Panther.
Nope, it is not.
And again, I think that Black Panther is not gonna be the hit that some people think it is. I think that the very same who felt empowered and enthralled by the first Black Panther are gonna hate this new one because, as you said from the trailers, it's all about girl power, and I don't see how that's gonna fly.
They even have the line, "Now is our time."
Oh, perfect.
Great.
Now is our time, as in black people, or as in the ladies?
And when she said the uniform will work better on a woman. I think it's
referring to Wakanda, but I think in the trailer it works as a double entendre. RJ has the question I have here, and this is a very valid question. My biggest question is it evil Superman who shows up to fight Black Adam? Because the Snyder Cut showed us if Superman wears blue and red costume, he's evil.
Well, it's the Man of Steel costume. Literally the man. As far as I could tell, at least, it's the Man of Steel costume.
He may be being a bit facetious there.
Yeah. Mayhaps, I don't know.
I just want them
Superman
to get back to all the normal stuff and forget about all the weird, bastardized variations that the comic books got into just to keep interests of fans to read the comics. Like, forget about Mr. Quixote. Well, how do you pronounce that?
Mr. Mxyzptlk?
Yes, Mr. Mxyzptlk. I mean, forget about all that for another few years. Just get the straightforward stuff down working.
Well, there's a lot of regular Superman villains that have never gotten a shot, right? Brainiac, Metallo.
Yeah.
Just to name a couple that are fairly well known that have never even gotten to be in the
Brainiac is
Parasite. You have Toy Man.
Toy
Man's really cool.
So let's run through those properly, unambiguously, and then start doing white Superman. And
from what I've been hearing, that's kind of the plan. Is they want it's not a complete reboot, but I've heard it's going to be completely different tone from Snyder's. I've heard the movie's probably going to be called Superman. They've been courting James Gunn for it, but I don't think he'll do it. But he may be doing some kind of swap deal because we did hear that he pitched some secret DC project again. So he's got another project he just added to it. So Culture and I are wondering if maybe he's doing something like trade, or I wonder if he'll say, okay, I'll produce and co-write this with whoever, the Superman deal, but I really want to do this, and it's like Booster Gold or something like that.
I hope he's doing the next Nancy and Sluggo movie.
Who knows? But he just wants to stick in his little corner with the weird Suicide Squad characters and the goofy characters. He has the sensibility to where he could probably write along with somebody else a decent Superman movie. But I think he knows that's not something he has what's the word I'm looking for? Not fortitude, but there's a word like that to really kind of take on Superman. Like that's just not
fortitude.
His bag. Fortitude. That's what I just said. I guess it was the right word.
It might be too big a spotlight too when you're off doing, Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy and all these goofball superheroes. Well, the
thing is,
out of the limelight a bit.
Is if you've ever seen the movie Super, and if you've ever seen, what the hell's I can't remember the name of it, but he did another kind of comedy superhero movie before that he co-wrote, and Robert Meyer Burnett actually is one of the producers on it. I can't remember the name of it now. It's like the something supers, anyway, it's like a parody of the Avengers. But anyhow, like he's gone in and out of various genres of superhero films. We've seen him do the Guardians of the Galaxy. We've seen him do the Suicide Squad. With things like Super, though, what was that other movie that he produced? Was it Brightburn?
Brightburn, he produced.
Yeah, that was it.
So, I mean, he's gone into various directions with superheroes. I'm not saying he couldn't do a Superman, but I just don't know if he wants to. Like, that's the thing.
I don't think that would appeal to him because it's like too clean, and I don't think he would be allowed to do so either by Zaslav, who wants to do Superman right, whereas James Gunn wants his quirky character with the weird messed up family relations. Yeah. So I think that everyone wants him to find like something small that no one really cares too much about, and then he can reshape it in his image, because that has a tendency to work pretty well. At least
he's a kid from Trauma Film School. He loves the Trauma take on stuff, and Trauma is all about how gross and crazy can we make it.
Yeah, he's kind of the Tim Burton of superhero movies.
Kind of, but actually he's better than that. Because, Tim Burton kind of got started with Batman, so it's kind of a weird...
Oh, that's true.
...thing. But, like, Tim Burton was never... Like, he never read any comic books. The only Batman comic books he ever read was Frank Miller's Dark Knight and the Killing Joke. Let's be fucking real.
So he wasn't...
No, he pretty much admitted that.
Ah.
Yeah, he watched the old 60s series. But as far as he was never really a comic book person. He was more of a cartoon person.
Yeah, well, he
loved animation and stuff. Yeah, he started as a cartoonist. So, like, he never really got into the comic book side of things. So, like, that was one thing Kevin Smith made a crack about, was, like, how Tim Burton wasn't a comic book fan, basically. But, yeah. But, no, like, you don't necessarily have to be a comic book fan to do one of these movies either. Don't get me wrong. But I think that... that's where they're headed. They want a lighter tone. They want an actual Superman movie, and that to me is a good sign. And I think that's what this cameo was all about. And if there was anything that Zaslav had a major contribution to this, was get Henry Cavill in that fucking movie. Because as we've learned after this last week, now that Hamada's out of the picture, he was the main culprit as far as keeping Cavill away from the DC universe. Is now
it was
right
Sarnov primarily, and Hamada.
Yeah, but he's getting a big
her will.
Yeah, whatever, however you want to look at it, it was that regime that was getting
that
it
was. That it was.
And Marvel can rehabilitate themselves really quickly with a really good X-Men and a really good Fantastic Four.
Not with the people that are there, though. Unfortunately.
No. But as properties, if they don't screw it up, you're saying they will. But those two things could be fantastic palate cleansers for them.
They have a better chance of doing it on accident now. That's the thing.
Yeah.
No argument there. They absolutely could in a given situation.
Well, and that's what I said when they bought Fox before, and everybody's like, well, after Endgame, what are we going to do? I mean, unfortunately, Phase 4 is Phase 4, whatever you want to call it, Stage 4. Has pretty much proved everybody right in that respect. But again, I pointed out, like, they have big, heavy hitters. I don't know why they haven't done anything yet. I know it takes time to get this stuff into execution, but I have a feeling they're going to fumble the ball running the first play of the game at this point. Like, they have Fantastic Four and X-Men, which are two arguably huge. X-Men alone is a huge fucking thing. They were the biggest thing Marvel had for years. And the only reason they're not nearly as big as they used to be is because what's-his-face pretty much tried to take them down because of the whole Fox problem. But at that point, like, I'm like, why are you not setting up this idea that we are doing the X-Men in the vein of the 90s TV cartoon series or the comic books, whichever one you look at it, because that's basically all that was. And boom, people would be just there in a heartbeat. You're right, Paul, because X-Men was one of the biggest fucking things to happen.
Oh, my favorite. My favorite,
like the origin of superheroes is what I was going to say. But yeah.
I mean, you had the Misfits. You had the government who tried to control the X. There was so much great undertone to it. I mean, obviously, you know, the X-Men were substitutes for all sorts of individuals of color and Asian, Black, whatever, who were treated badly by the government. I mean, you understood what they were getting at, but it was so great to see the X-Men being the allegorical substitutes, and you were rooting for these superheroes, these misfits. What a perfect, unbelievably clever device that they created. But the problem with Disney is that it could very well be the most meddling studio in Hollywood right now and of all time. And Disney has a history of having internal people produce stuff, and they're just having a hard time with bringing external people in the way the phase 1 of the MCU was under Feige. They were bringing other external people. Disney does not like bringing external people in. That's not.
I blame Kevin Feige for this whole thing. Unfortunately, that's the thing is
you can
blame Disney, but Kevin Feige was arguably so powerful that he could have stopped any of this shit at any time.
And I don't know why he didn't. So this is what I'm wondering.
The Disney, fucking Kool-Aid, man.
Yeah. Disney historically,
that's the only answer I got.
Had internal people write and produce stuff. That is their culture.
Because he's powerful enough that he could swat away just about any note the studio would have had.
And why hasn't
he even went head to head with Chapek? And arguably he should have won that. But because Chapek was so much in the right with that whole fucking thing, that he lost, that it was kind of one of those wake up moments for Feige. And I think he lost a lot of the wind in his sails at that point. I don't know if he lost some confidence. I don't know if the studio lost confidence in him, if Hollywood lost confidence in him. What has happened since then? But there's been an extreme shift, quicker than I could ever have imagined for Kevin Feige, because Kevin Feige could have arguably went from strength to strength here, right? He could have walked away from Marvel and done anything he wants. He can literally just go do anything. He could have Star Wars tomorrow if he wanted to. And Kathleen Kennedy couldn't even say shit about it, because that's where the studio would have stepped in and said, oh no, you've done fucked this up long enough. This guy's, and that's kind of what fucking happened. But now the reason I think that stuff's kind of languishing is because Kevin Feige has been doing nothing but dropping duds. The only hit he's had, the only legitimate hit, has been Spider-Man, and that was for Sony. And that's why I said, I guarantee you that Monday morning, either a nasty phone call happened or Feige actually got called into Chapek's office and he said, what the fuck is your excuse? You give us a string of shit, and now they've got the biggest goddamn movie in the last 5 years since our last Endgame. So what the hell is this?
So the only thing I would have to say is that I have seen mergers of companies. I worked for Daimler when they merged with Chrysler. I was at meetings with German executives from Daimler, with Chrysler executives in Dearborn, and I saw culture clashes like you wouldn't believe, almost to the point of fistfights. So when they merged with, when Disney bought Marvel, don't underestimate that they're not going to have the same issues as any Fortune 500 corporation swallowing another company. Hollywood is no different. So my expectation is that Disney culture won. Culture eats.
You're right.
Culture eats. All sorts of plans. Culture
it devours them. Yeah,
devours
first. the first red flag was Jon Favreau's fight with Iron Man 2. Disney had just purchased it at that point. The distribution rights were still under Paramount, and Paramount was kind of directing a lot of the stuff that was going on. But Disney basically said, this is Disney brand now. We can't go into the non-family area with these properties. And Paramount was like, well, our hands are kind of tied at this point. They tried to reconcile it. Favreau was really upset, but he tried to be professional for as long as he could and direct the movie that was Iron Man 2. And then he was no longer a part of Marvel in the producer as a producer and a creative entity anymore. He was just Happy Hogan in those movies. And as soon as that happened, you saw a massive tonal shift in Marvel. And I would say, yeah, that's Disney was the worst thing to happen to that franchise. If Paramount kept it, I bet you Paramount would be the biggest player on the lot, and we'd probably have a lot of better, stronger, more diverse type of stories and genres within Marvel, as opposed to basically them being essentially pseudo comedies.
Yeah, and so my point is, don't underestimate the fact that Hollywood corporations are going to suffer under the same issues as any kind of Fortune 500 corporation is going to have when they swallow another one.
The only thing I can see being maybe a little bit different as far as, I mean, obviously the stories themselves would probably be different and Marvel would have went in a completely different direction. I agree with you there, Script. I'm just going to say that I don't know if they ever go big as they did with Endgame, since they wouldn't have the Disney machine behind them. Now, I agree with you, though, that we probably would have got...
The Disney machine also didn't exist until after they got Marvel. That's the thing.
That's a weird thing about it. But
Paramount would have had that machine in place if they wanted to go Endgame. They would have achieved it. I don't think it would have been... I'm pretty sure I know for a fact, based on what Paramount was at that time, that there was no way they would let that movie be as long as it was. They would say 2 hours and 20 minutes is your cutoff.
Well, that's not what I'm getting at so much as
just they would be able to make it.
To be able to build the hype around it. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Marvel would have been better overall as far as the quality of the films, and we may have had a few, because I think where did the first Avengers, did that hit $1 billion or not?
Yeah. That hit 1.5 billion.
Okay, so from there, I just don't think they would have hit the type of numbers they did with Endgame or had the type of penetration that Disney did. Because Paramount didn't have the same kind of advertising machine, the same kind of money to put behind it that Disney did. But again, that's the sacrifice of probably better storytelling. And at this point, they would have left DC in the dust, I bet. Because you're right, Script. Because if they would have went the Endgame route, I still think it would have been a much more adult-oriented and a little bit more serious and not this kiddie bullshit. And we
would have balanced the lines a lot better, because here's the other part too you have to remember. Even though Paramount may have not had this, was not willing to go into as much debt as Disney did in order to do that, they would have been able to have built the brand long enough. By the time Endgame, I think Endgame would have had the same numbers.
And then here's the other thing too.
It's just because you have that many movies behind it, building it up over and over.
Endgame did not require any promotion.
Yeah, no, but I think you could be right in a respect that maybe, just maybe, Paramount and Sony might have worked together sooner than Disney did. So we might have gotten Spider-Man in the Marvel Universe a little bit sooner too.
Well, they were also working with Universal, and they were
setting up deals with Fox
at the same time. So you probably would have got Fantastic Four and X-Men in there.
That's what I'm saying. Earlier. Yeah, so there could have been more uniformity before Disney. Because, that's what the argument I was going to get to, is that at the same time, Disney also caused a dam to get in the way. But now that they've done it themselves with getting Fox, and they've got
Disney has now killed 2 massive properties.
Sort of.
Thank you. That's it.
The Marvel Universe still could be, here's the thing. The Marvel Universe, the beauty of the Marvel Universe in comparison to something like Star Wars is you can reboot the Marvel Universe in a couple of years and it could possibly regain most of its glory.
Yeah.
Star Wars is sullied beyond the point, and Star Trek is one of our examples of how that's going to play out. And Star Trek probably even has more of a chance of making a comeback now than Star Wars.
Well, Star Trek's under Paramount, and they haven't done too good with that. Lately.
No, they haven't.
Yeah,
but
they're
held hostage by Bad Robot and Secret Hideout. That's the other part.
That's the thing, and they're trying to make some moves there. And some of the people that are there now, compared to the people that were there before, know what Star Trek is more so. They're not expecting it to be any more than it was, but they also know it's not doing what it should be. And I think you'll start seeing more of a change. We already saw a little bit of change with Strange New Worlds. From what we're hearing, we're going to see some change with Picard. As soon as they can get these bad robot and fucking secret hideout people out the door, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a whole new renaissance of classic Trek shit. Because it's funny is I told this, I don't know if you were here on that show last week, Paul, but I went into the store the other day. I saw Star Trek toys for the first time in God knows how many years, probably since the 2000 whatever movie of JJ's, where I saw Walmart having Star Trek toys. And not a single one of them were modern. They were all from Wrath of Khan.
Wow.
And Playmate has this thing where on their new, because they did a new deal, all the older Trek stuff has classic Trek on it. And they have very few things that are for the modern Trek.
Which means that Bad Robot and Secret Hideout aren't getting their cut of pie from that.
Yep.
Right, and I think it's because of Bad Robot that they created that stupid lightsaber that had the flames coming out the bottom side of it that would hurt you really badly.
You're right.
Hit you in
the exhaust flames.
The exhaust flames. The dumbest variation one could think of. Ow! Oh, ow! Ow! Oh, my ear!
Yeah,
ow.
At that point, you might as well just give him a double-bladed lightsaber.
Yeah,
with it. So clearly, that's what you wanted to do.
Design.
Right? Yeah, you're trying to do something cool, but that's not
logistically
no, it's not.
He wanted to own his own lightsaber.
It reminds me of the true story of the Batmobile, and I'll keep this super quick because I know we're way behind already. But for those who don't know, when they designed the '89 Batmobile and built it, they never stopped to think about Batman's ears. So when he's in the Batmobile, he has a different cowl than he does any other time because it has shorter fucking ears because they didn't think about how tall it was going to be. They also didn't think until late in the game about how he was going to get in and out of the motherfucker. So they added in a cockpit at the nearly last minute too.
See, it would have been really cool if the cowl had
originally that's not true.
That he could just stick his ears through.
Because I'm waiting for script to correct me on this one, but that's not totally true. It was going to have a standard door, but I can't remember who it was. Probably John Peters. So we can't have him getting in and out of a regular fucking door. He's going to look dumb.
They designed it, and the design didn't have the door right away.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, we have to design a door in this." He said, "Well, there's like a foot between the canopy and the edge of the car. You can't have a door in that."
That's what it was. Thank you. I knew you'd correct me at some point.
This big sliding canopy, and that was the invention of that part too. And for Batman Returns, what they ended up doing is they just lowered the seats 4 inches so that they didn't have to make another cowl.
Because it's technically a different Batmobile in Returns, but yeah. Even though it's made to look the same, but yeah, no. I knew if anybody knew better than me, it'd be Script, because him and I know he knows more than I do when it comes to Batman.
I've driven one of the replicas of the Batmobile, and I knew it had something next to one of the ones used in the movie that was at the Toronto exhibition way back.
I know there was a logistic problem, and
I've been in the replica DeLorean from
nice,
the one that the guy who built in Burlington travels all over North America. So I
probably have met that guy because I've seen a few of the replicas. But
this is the main one, guy. And so when they brought the cast together that one year, it was his replica that they used.
Well, yeah, you know what they found out is that all the original DeLoreans were practically destroyed because they didn't realize this. This is the same kind of fate that Bruce had. They would put them out in front of the Universal Studios tours, and they didn't realize they weren't replicas, but the actual fucking cars from Back to the Future 3. Until it was way out. People had stolen parts and shit off them already and everything. And yeah. So somebody went, and I think it's the same individual you're talking about, went back and then they restored the originals too on top of it. But yeah. And Jaws had the same problem because they went and used the molds for the Jaws at the Universal Studios and then they lost.
Well, they don't really expect these things to be hits. And then later on they go,
no.
Maybe we should have preserved those negatives.
Exactly. And talking about expecting things to be hits or not, Guru Lady gets us back onto Black Adam and says, we actually get a legit anti-hero, not a wannabe hero or villain, but a real anti-hero and one we've wanted for years. Well, I'm not sure if you saw the movie, but if that's your assessment, then that's kind of good to hear. Mizzy Buddy says, okay, and Andre convinced me I'm watching Black Adam. Well, there you go. Warachi says, Black Adam, it's refreshing to see a sense of excitement in the panel. It has been missing for too long, aside from Chris Gore and RRR. Well, we have enjoyed other things, but a lot of people miss those panels, like our Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe panel.
Exactly. That no one saw and no one got notification of because it was too positive, I guess. Beavis and Butthead is the best thing ever.
Oh, God. Did you finally get caught up with the season, Andre? There's 12 episodes altogether. I was wrong.
I think I've seen them all. Yeah, I think I saw them all.
Oh God, they're so good. Tennille89, yeah, it says hearsay, Andre, no fun with pillage, no fun without pillaging. Well, maybe pillage some popcorn.
Yeah, I mean, when you just go rush to the cinema and rush back again, pillaging some candy is like the best you can do.
That's a luxury item you can't always have.
Yeah.
Hyperguyver2 says, sounds like was hoping for a glimpse of the Rock's python. Yes, pythons are real snakes.
To be honest with you, The Rock has never looked better. I have to say his conditioning really shows. There's some scenes where it's just body acting and you can just smell the testosterone in the air. He looks beautiful. He's confident. He's a mature man. There is something to say for a mature man these days, guys. I think that certainly I hope to see more mature men, regardless of their shape. Guys, this is a great time to be a fan. I want to see much, much more. So, yes.
There you go.
There you go.
Gabriel Quiroga says, I agree. Abrams' review has got me excited now. There you go.
Good.
Tim Scorpion says, from your words, I'm guessing Black Adam is a 4 out of 5. Well, it may be. Depends on your rating scale. I seen Gary from Nerdrotic gave it a 6 out of 10. That's not too bad.
I mean, it can even
actually his kid gave it a 6 out of 10. He said Nerdrotic Jr. gave it a 6 out of 10.
Oh, is that what he said? I'm sorry, I misquoted.
Yeah.
It could be a 3 out of 5 from a realistic perspective, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't a good popcorn movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the kind of movie that Siskel and Ebert would have argued about back in the day, it sounds like. Siskel would have been all fucking hoity-toity about it, and then Ebert would have been like, oh, come on, Gene, get the stick out of your ass. It's fucking popcorn fun. You get to see The Rock being a superhero for 2 hours. What more do you ask for? It delivers what the fucking movie promises. End of discussion, and Gene will be like, I just expected more from Dwayne Johnson.
You know what's going
to happen? He would be like, it's a one and done.
Yeah. You know what's going to happen next is the Variety article explaining how the online trolls, because this is a very male-oriented movie, are behind it only because it's male-oriented, and they poo-pooed She-Hulk and all these other Eternals because there was too much women involvement and too much gay and everything else, and that was the reason we hated those, and that's why we like this, and it's a terrible movie, and so it's going to be a flip. We're going to wait for the article in Variety from some shill who loved She-Hulk, who was happy to recount Jessica Gao's stories of how they anticipated all these haters coming out on her, little estrogen showpiece, and so we're going to be. It's only because of the male-oriented story of Black Adam is why us haters online will like it, not because we have any kind of taste or ability to properly judge any kind of property. Wait for the article.
I think Andre kind of hit on that a little bit in his review, but he went at it a different angle. But he just said the whole part about it not being woke enough, and that's why the critics are
and also
I'm behind every male-orientated story and movie. So there,
you're not alone.
And to Action Com, we're going to need the time code for the prediction.
Yeah.
Yes, we're gonna.
I think Paul's right. No, I guarantee you he's right, because we just went over an article last night trying to tell us that we're wrong about Rings of Power and She-Hulk, claiming that they have the evidence without giving us any evidence, and then we went into the evidence to prove that they were wrong. So,
yeah, I read the article.
Monday morning, Hollywood Reporter, Variety will hit those articles of, this is why Black Adam's making money.
Because of the toxic men who didn't support
I can see it already.
Bros.
Can we talk about the Black Adam's male problem? Is going to be one of them.
There's the headline.
And also, I will say that they're going to write it as if, this is a deeply disturbing thing.
Right.
Whereas the studio is going to be like, audiences like toxic men.
And here's how the article is going to start. Yes, watch. And here's how the article is going to start. Granted, The Rock is not a white man, but it sure does feel like Black Adam is full of white male rage. And this movie does seem to quantify the fact that is supposed to be a good thing. And that is why all these toxic white males are rushing to the theaters to see this movie where for nothing but 2 hours, The Rock destroys people and takes power porn on them and blah, 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 blah for like fucking 3 paragraphs.
You got it.
Just to tell us we're all wrong because we had fun at a fucking movie because God forbid it didn't have a message.
And when the fart catcher publications come out with this, which is what we're predicting now, we are way ahead of the curve, probably of every single YouTube channel. We're going to celebrate.
I can probably start writing that editorial, taking down the article right away.
You're probably right. You know what? They kind of pre-write this shit anyway. They did with She-Hulk. We might as well start pre-writing these videos, Andre. I'm all for that. Yeah. That means I can get some shit done, and I might actually have a day off for once.
Pre-record a video. Be like, we don't know what the exact details of these articles are going to be, but this is the general talking points that they've done in the past, and we're just going to counter them right now.
Well, I kind of made that joke. I said one time we should just take the one. I can't remember what it was. I'm like, I think it was Star Trek. I'm like, let's just take the old video and you just replace the director's name here. Like, we'll literally just have me come in and like right before you say S.J. Clarkson or whatever, and I'll be like, Noah Hawley.
Tom, this is an industry secret. I mean, we have done that with the scripts.
Technically not the entire script, but like there are sections of scripts that
there are sections that we could reuse, but yeah, actually that would be fun. Like with the
next Star Trek one. Now Star Trek 4 has been canceled again on October 31st. We heard that. So Noah Hawley left the project, and
here in Canada, BC, which is our version of Portland, only worse.
Very accurate.
The city of Vancouver elected
I can't wait to meet
a Chinese mayor, but because he's business oriented, the left have taken him down as a shill for white supremacists.
Oh, jeez.
He's Chinese.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
And it is insane. Or he's Canadian, but he's a Chinese background. And the left are insane when it comes to this. Of course, they've always lumped Asians and the white together because we're good at school. The Asians are obviously better. And so they're not considered people of color at all because they do well in school. And so it's just insane, hilarious what's going on amongst the intersectionalists.
Oh, Lord.
He's Chinese. The guy has Chinese background. Nope.
Yeah. You figure like the people that are crazy on the right would be worried that he's a communist. The left doesn't even address that at all. They'd be like, wait, if he's a communist, no, let's put him back in there.
Yeah, wait a second. That's okay. Wait a second. He's business oriented. He's the enemy.
Funny how that
I've just loved them watch them stumble over themselves for the last fucking couple of weeks trying to paint Kanye West as a racist, even though he's helping them a little bit. I won't lie there, but it's just kind of hilarious.
He tends to be a little anti-Jewish there with some of his posts.
Anti-Jewish is one thing.
Maybe a little bit mayhaps.
Anti-Jewish is one thing, but it's hilarious is even before he said those statements, they were already calling him racist. That was what was hilarious to me. So,
well, I
think they're even calling him a white supremacist. Yeah, me too. But like Kanye, I think is hilarious because he's like a joke to begin with. Yeah. So, well, but Andre has to leave us here, so I think you're gonna have to do this one before you do take off, though. Andre, got to jump ahead to this one. Yeah. Matthias Fredriksson, here you go.
Matthias Fredriksson, he has a thought. A bad robot reboot of the Norwegian masterpiece classic franchise Flåklypa. as interesting as you know what? I'd watch that just for the hell of it. I would watch the hell out of a Flåklypa reboot. I think we have to play like a trailer of Flåklypa. So
we need to see that. I have no idea what it is.
Well, not only that, I want to start seeing some remakes of shit that some of these fucking woke ass critics are actually going to give a shit about. I want to see J.J. Abrams take on shit like My Little Pony and fucking Strawberry Shortcake and fucking Rainbow Bright and some of this other shit to where they're finally
Air Bears.
Yeah, because you know what? We saw a little taste of that when they decided they were going to reboot Buffy, and they weren't going to change Buffy, but as soon as they heard that it was going to have a black lead and they thought they were going to race swap Buffy, holy shit, did they turn into some racist motherfuckers real quick. And it's like, you motherfuckers are so dumb, you don't even realize that they're not even really replacing her. It's a new character in the same universe. But we just sat there and watched them burn. We just let them do it to themselves. It was hilarious as shit. Because if they were to actually do that to some of the things they actually gave a shit about, we'd see this totally change over.
So I have a question. Don't we usually wrap this up at 3? And there's lots of things to talk about.
Yes, there is. Yes.
Is Ezra going to be kicked out now entirely? He's done. They're going to reshoot the whole movie with him.
Well, like I said, I've been saying this for
we and especially Tom has been saying this. You haven't been saying it for 2 months, Tom. Shame on you. You've been saying it for 4.
No, but it seemed like, okay, going back when he first got charged with this felony, I remember saying that was the last straw. Somebody said that this is it. We have no choice now, and there's nothing he can come back on, or anybody can come back on us on, because now he's being charged with a felony. And at that point, that's when all the trades were going, they can't reshoot this. They're stuck with him. It's 200. And that's when I said, I talked to somebody, I keep saying closer to, let's say, special effects, and that's the way I'll put it. And they said flat out, people got to remember, all this shit is shot on a green screen anyway. 9 times out of 10, these actors aren't even in the same fucking shot together. All the action sequences are CGI. It's all CGI backgrounds and or whatever. So to really plug somebody else into this movie would not be as difficult as the trades are making it out to be. The bigger problem is just going to be doing it all this stuff by the time the movie's supposed to be out. And this is why I think when they told us that Jesus Christ, Aquaman was being pushed out that far, I'm like, well, that's because they're reshooting Amber shit. I guarantee it. And if that tells us that's how long that's going to take, part of that is because they want that spot. The other part is it tells me they're going to end up having to push the flashback again, because if they have to reshoot any more than they have already, unless they weren't lying about how well it tested, which I never heard that come from anybody but the trades. And Zaslav said that, and I think in the meeting that it did test well, but I don't know if he said it tested as well as they were trying to boast it in the trades. But that's the thing, unless that movie was actually decent enough to get out there. But at that point, they were just hoping to get the son of a bitch out there before Ezra would do anything stupid. And
never going to happen.
Never going to happen, like Script said. And the version of the story ahead, the shortest I can tell you now because we do have to run, is that he was offered the help. He swatted their hand away. He got his own help, so he wasn't under Warner's control. They thought they had him under enough control. And now the trades are running with this, but it sounded to me like they had made this decision a while back. Now, there's a new name being thrown around in the mix other than the names I'd heard before. But other than that, nothing has changed from what I heard 2 months ago. And it always seems like the trades are around about 2 months behind what I've been hearing. It seems to be the same pattern.
Yeah, that's
at that point, that's what they were kind of
official release.
And we know they just did some reshoots supposedly with Ezra Miller, and that was according to the trades. So the only thing the trades have confirmed that I had heard, and that was that they talked to Mike DeLuca, and that Ezra did have a meeting with Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi. But I'm assuming at that meeting he was told that after this movie, we're no longer going to have you as the Flash. Because that's what I was hearing months and months ago.
I think there's a big difference between being investigated and then now they're talking about the number of years.
That's the thing. And he also has...
the studio can handle a small, a small charge, like the person, okay, misdemeanor.
Couple of months or 2 years less a day, as they say.
Yeah, not 27 years. That once they caught wind of what the potential for that was going to be, I would say that any kind of curiosity that someone would have had to watch Ezra in the movie is gone.
Well, and as you guys would know, something like a felony is something that's basically like a deal breaker.
Oh,
in most cases,
yeah.
And that's kind of what I was hearing. Yeah.
No, he's gone. They're going to get another actor for that for sure now.
Well, the other part too that's also unfortunate is that Warner Brothers, while they've been trying to fix The Flash, they're also having that same team try and work on a sequel to The Flash or another Flash as well, which is really bad because the one thing that I have learned in my experience, and it's also been reinforced by some of the best screenwriters in the industry, is that if you start working on a sequel before your first movie comes out, your first movie is doomed to fail.
And why is that true, or is that just something you read in the trade script? Or is that something
it's not in the trades? I've heard it from the mouth of screenwriters, and the reason being is that you're focused so much on that first movie, you have no idea if the stuff that you've done in that first movie is actually going to be good. You don't know it's going to be great. So if you start using the things that approach in your sequel, and the first movie flops, your sequel will flop. It won't even be made. In fact, this happened with Green Lantern. This happened with the Queen Latifah movie Taxi. They were being told, yeah, this movie looks so great. The dailies look fantastic. We're greenlighting a sequel. And you're doing it too soon because now the creative team that's supposed to be making the best movie they can is now trying to make two of the best movies they can at the same time. And you cannot do that.
No, I don't see how
I agree with you normally, Script, but the reason I asked you where you heard that from is because I heard something like that. But the reason is I heard they had some teams already working on movies in Zaslav's vision. So that
I don't even think he has a vision
one
yet.
Of them. Well, I think he knows what he wants to do. He just needs to find somebody to execute it.
Yeah, he wants it to be he wants to be a home decor show.
Yes, with a lot of doilies.
So it'll work on the Discovery Channel.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it's really hard to do that because it's really hard to make. Like, for instance, I'll put it to you this way: you can do the Lord of the Rings because that story's already been told. You know what works, what doesn't work. When you're dealing with superhero stuff, it doesn't matter what you're trying to adapt. You're trying to also tell a more unique story that captures the essence of the source material, which means that you have no idea if the approach you're doing is going to be successful or not until that movie hits out. With Zaslav right now, the rumor is that it's the same team that's working on The Flash that is working on the sequel at the same time. If it was completely different director, completely different screenwriter, completely different crew that's doing the pre-development for it, maybe you have a shot. But that doesn't seem to be the case right now. It seems the people that he's brought in to try and make this the best movie it can be, or at least marketable and watchable for the audience, are also working on The Flash 2. And he has no guarantees that what is going to be done with The Flash is going to be the best course of action for the sequel.
Could it be that they were also working on it before he even came into the picture? So I know they were already talking about sequels
they announced,
way back when.
The rumors of The Flash 2 started around the time the Batman debuted.
Which was just before he came in, yeah. So I'm wondering if this is just maybe a mop-up from... Like, this is something Hamada and those guys put into effect before he even got in there, just to kind of be a pain in the ass. And they're working on it.
The fact that he hasn't axed it yet is...
That's true, but... It might have already been paid for, and they just haven't turned in a script yet, too.
I hope they use the opportunity to change the costume of the Flash.
Yeah, they got that wrong. They've gotten that wrong.
They won't, probably. Unfortunately, that's one of those things that's pretty set in stone at this point. You can't really do much about that.
Make the costume out of the same material that speed skaters wear. Just make it nice and simple and easy for little kids to like the character to draw.
If they reshoot it with another actor and it doesn't cost them a fortune to redo the CGI models, I would love it if they did that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I don't know if they'd put the money.
I love the classic Flash outfit. Yeah, even I drew that as a kid doing cartoons.
Not the Garrick one, but the
it's a red one piece with yellow ear piece parts. Yep, exactly, when I was working on in props, and I pitched my own. I actually made 3D printed and made the Flash head wings. That I thought was going to be used in Suicide Squad, but they said no, we already had that option.
I actually thought the 90s series got it best.
Oh no, I've got the ones that look just like the comics. It's a lightning bolt that looks like an optical illusion, but it actually goes out.
Well, I'm just saying, as far as like so
if
far
I can find
screen,
photos of it, and I'll share that online.
I'm saying so far on screen, my pick would be the one from the 90s so far.
The John
I thought it looked a little too fuzzy or whatever, but other than that, it looked great. I thought, yeah. But thank you for that, Matthias. And then Mecha J says, how well do you see Black Adam doing in the box office with its positive response from the audience? It could help bump it. And like Script did point out, and I was getting to earlier too, is that this movie has more screenings and more of an opportunity to pull out in front of where the Batman did in its open weekend. And I think the Batman also fell off a bit after early word of mouth was that it was kind of meh. And a lot of people don't want to sit in a theater.
Even I haven't seen it. And I've seen every Batman. Don't know why. It didn't energize me.
It quickly became my least favorite Batman movie.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, but Andre has to take off here on us now, but we're going to
keep going with these super chats soon also.
Yeah, but I'm going to try and scoot through these super chats as quick as I can anyway, or whoever has to drop out, just let me know. Andre, anything to say quick before you go?
Yeah, no, I just want to say thanks for joining us so far. Stay tuned. There's plenty more super chats to go through, plenty more discussion to be had. When you are done, go check out Midnight's Edge Live Archives, where you will find both this full stream, many other streams, and also the best of the clips, including the best bits of Mr. Chato, the best bits of the ladies of toxic femininity and the best bits of this discussion right here. So yeah, check out Midnight's Edge live archives. Check out Midnight's Edge Espanol also while you're at it. Of course, After Dark, and of course the channels of our esteemed guests, like Mr. Chato, like Script Doctor, and like Culture Casino. But most of all, just stay tuned, because just because I have to drop out doesn't mean that you have to. So
you never know; he might be back. As many super chats as we got to go through here, thankfully,
I
you guys
may
have been so
be
generous.
back, we'll see.
You may be back before I get done. But Paul, did you have to leave us soon, or
I need to get back to work. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I'll do here is after this one, I will start grabbing ones that are specific for you, so then you can.
The toxic femininity channel is hilarious.
Oh, did you actually get a chance to watch Toxic Femininity?
I watch it almost all the time when I get a chance.
Oh, sweet. I bet the ladies would love to have you jump on.
It's really great to hear such.
Oh boy, they were on fire this last week with the She-Hulk shit. Oh my god, where I just laid back and let them take over.
It was good. I don't know what I could add to their channel.
No, that's what I was saying. I'm like, there's nothing I can add to this shit. I'm like, they're on fire here tonight. And usually that's all I'm there for is colorful commentary. So yeah.
Because women don't have an opinion on this the subject of popular culture, right?
Not at all. I don't know if she heard you.
I don't know. I said it's clear that women do not have a perspective or opinion on popular culture.
I think the silence was actually far more funnier.
I was gonna say, I think it's more ironic. But Autumn also has to get going too, so I'll try and grab both of y'all's at the same time if I can here down the line. So yeah, so Black Adam is worth full fare. Going to see it right now. A lot of movies lately have been worth haven't even been worth sailing the high seas. Where that is true, right? Especially if you got a chance getting in trouble for it,
or like going to the Southlands.
Yeah, and here's one for both Paul and Autumn. Says, should we tell Paul and Autumn about Wakanda when nature calls? Also, I'm curious about the new Silent Hill movie and how it will play out. Well, there's a lot of news coming out of Silent Hill. We talked a little bit about that the other day.
That's a horror movie, right?
Yeah, it's based on a video game. Yeah,
I don't watch horror movies.
But when nature calls, Wakanda, do you guys do yourselves a favor if you get a couple minutes, look up Wakanda when nature calls. You guys are familiar with the movie Ace Ventura, right?
Oh yes.
When nature calls.
Yeah.
It's basically somebody took Ace Ventura clips and they cut it to the soundtrack of Wakanda Forever trailer.
Someone did a
hilarious.
silent movie with piano summary, quick edit of Rings of Power.
Oh, that was our friend George Molo. Yeah,
and it's hilarious.
Yes. Yeah, we actually had him on Mead last night. It's hilarious.
My gosh, is that funny?
Yeah, check that out on George the Giant Slayer, aka George Molo's channel. Definitely.
Wow, that was good. Yeah, you sent me there actually.
Oh, well, cool. And then we've got let's see here, 12-14 was one for Chato. Carrie Cassell says, Chato, how many Warner Brothers and Discovery execs have had pointed chats with Dr. Stacy Smith? Do you or anyone on the panel have inside knowledge about
who's Dr. Stacy Smith?
I'm not familiar with Stacy Smith.
Familiar with her, and the fact that you have the doctor in quotes would suggest that probably not really a doctor, but maybe an activist.
Yeah, that's what's got me wondering. No, I have not heard about this. This is something I'd have to look into.
Never heard of her.
Corey. If you want to send me some info on it, Corey, I'd gladly look into it, though. Appreciate it.
I just have the professor of mathematics. I mean, there is a woman whose name I'm not going to mention, who has been consulting on video games and done nothing but scorched earth them.
Yeah,
who removed women from them. I'm not going to mention her name. She's a vile human being.
Okay, and I got to grab one here that. Let's see, 115. Here we go. Maverick Christian says, I want to see extreme movie Chato described. Yeah, me too, man. That'd be hilarious.
Script Doctor and I are on it immediately.
Yes.
Yep. We don't have
as long
enough
as I'm in it
writing.
somewhere, I don't give a shit. I can help out a little bit too. I throw.
Yeah. We could brainstorm it.
Yeah.
I can write if I try. And he also wants to point out that it's pronounced Mix Yes Spit.
Mixes Pillick.
Yes. I know. It's
At least that's what they were. That's what some of the guys who I was hanging out with at Warner Brothers at the time would call them, and they know because some of them worked on Superman the animated series. So
I could never figure out what the pronunciation was, but then but that was actually part of the joke of the strip of the cartoon is that they really couldn't pronounce his name either.
And the only way to send him back is for him to say his name backwards. I mean, that's the best. That's a good comic gimmick. It's like I can't even say it forwards.
Right?
Rumpelstiltskin.
But Superman's Superman. He should be able to do both. So that's all that matters.
There's an episode of the animated series of Superman where Mxyzptlk arrives, tells Superman the rules, and Superman effortlessly gets him to bounce back to his previous dimension, and it frustrates the hell out of him. And it's oh crap, who is it? I forget his name. He passed away recently. Gilbert Gottfried.
Gilbert Gottfried, yeah.
I'm telling you, this is out of the control. Listen, it's horrible. Everything is crazy.
They get Mxyzptlk to write his name backwards in smoke, like plane smoke, cloud dusting, whatever it was. And when he realizes it, he immediately blinks out of existence and back to the fifth dimension. And Superman did it in within 5 seconds. It was clever stuff. I mean, that's how you kind of do things with that nature.
I would love to do a superhero movie where through some accident or whatever, the big confrontation at the beginning that sets up the future confrontation, like he deals with it instantly, and then there's nothing left but just home, like cooking food, going out to grocery store.
the cool down of the night, so to speak.
The cool down, that's it. So it's been dispensed with, like right at the very beginning, and the rest of it is, hey, Lois, what are you doing anything tonight? Yeah, no, I can do something. Okay, you want to go to the Chinese place? Okay.
Just don't have them go watch a movie because we don't want the rest of the movie of them sitting in a theater watching the people watching them in the theater.
That's right.
One thing I never understood about Superman is he never worked for UPS or FedEx. He could be the employee of the month every month.
That's true.
Yeah. Gilbert Gottfried.
Let me. What was the dirtiest joke in the world?
The Aristocats.
The Aristocats. Yes, I have my own Aristocrats.
Everybody's got an Aristocrats. Yeah.
Oh God, I love that documentary.
Can't do it here. I think your channel will be pulled off YouTube.
That is all we have directly for Mr. Paul Chato. So thank you so much, guys. If you have to exit, but I think Script is going to hang out with me for a little bit while we finish up these super chats.
Yeah,
we'll talk.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Take care of yourselves and check out Positive Fandom and Call Me Chato. And
bye, everyone.
Take care of yourselves, guys. Thank you and have a good weekend. All right, Script Doctor, let's get through these here. Thank you so much, guys, for being patient. We had a hell of a discussion today. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Casperia says, is Black Adam better than Aquaman pre-AH controversy? Well, that one was one that's probably more for Andre, obviously. It sounds like it. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't see. Well, is The Rock topless? Like, that's the question. Is do we get to see abs and chest like we did in Aquaman, Jason Momoa stuff? If maybe, then it could be more better for the ladies. If not, then I guess that's an out of reach quality.
I almost am leaning towards the point where I think the original Aquaman was almost a fluke. I don't think that we're ever going to have an Aquaman movie do that well again, but I could be wrong. I could very well be wrong. Then we've got Aaron Pipes here who says, if Black Panther 2 is all about Siri, I'll pass. I want strong men in my movies, not a bunch of male idiots or pretenders, strong women. Yeah, that's the thing is I can't even say it looks like there's much of a supporting cast of men outside of Namor. And
he's supposed to be the pawn or the bad guy in that film.
Bad guy, pretty much, yeah.
The other part too is I have no problem with, say, a female lead that's that can fight and do badass stuff, but don't dumb down everyone else around her so that she can be that. That's the other part. Like,
I just watched Red Sonja on 4K about 2 weeks ago, and there's a great example. Arnold Schwarzenegger does a really good job of supporting her in that film. He's there when he needs to be. He even makes a joke about her not asking for help or some shit like that, but it's it's very tongue-in-cheek and well done. It's like that movie was like 84, 83, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 85, 86 maybe.
And it does a really good job. He doesn't push himself onto her adventure. he's there when he needs to be, and and that's kind of part of the joke is he keeps disappearing.
Yeah. And then the two of them fighting for like 2 days straight to over her body.
Yeah, that's the hilarious part too. Is like, yeah. I mean, that may not be as up to date, but it's kind of almost even that's kind of handled in a. I liked it a lot better than it held up better than I thought it would, to be honest with you. But it's still cheesy as fuck. Aaron Pipes, though, yeah, I get where you're coming from here, but at the same time, I'm a script. Like, I have no problem as long as all the characters are written well, and it sounds like that's kind of what you're saying here, so I don't want to assume that you only want to watch movies with men in it, because there are YouTube or Twitter.
Those are called Sausage Fest films. They get
I was going to say, those, well, not just that, there's already a Pornhub and stuff for that. You can get plenty of gay porn, I'm sure.
Go see Bros, only with men in it.
Yeah, see Bros. There you go. Yeah. I'm kidding, of course, but thank you for that. Black Wolf Inc. says, your reactions to Black Adam has given me confidence that Black Panther 2 will be a massive bomb. I never wanted a movie to fail more than Black Panther 2 for real. Yeah, I'm not so sure it's got a lot going for it, so we'll see. But you follow that up with, thank you again, Black Wolf Inc. And I want Black Panther 2 to fail because I was appalled by the trailer and how they made Angela Bassett the main character. I'm sick of female empowerment. Well, that was just the one trailer. I saw, like I was talking about earlier.
Actually, I would watch an Angela Bassett-led.
Yeah, she could actually carry a movie.
Badass actor.
Yeah, she could actually. That was one of the things I felt like that they got wrong with X-Men, because that was one of the fan casting people wanted besides Patrick Stewart, because they wanted her to play Storm, and I'm like, well, duh, like that would have made sense. Because Halle Berry's great, but she's no Storm. Sorry. John Miller says, Cavill, 5 seconds made me buy 5 tickets for tonight. There you go.
Oh, man. Warner Brothers loves you, man.
Hey, Maverick Christian says, luckily, the movie critic Jeremy Johns gave it a positive review too. I think I'll see this one in the theaters. There you go. Something to go see in the theater. Kareen says, we'll see it tonight. Always planned on seeing it. Love the Rock. Well, there you go. There are people out there who do. About 300 million worth or so. Michael Laparco says, I expect Wakanda Forever to have an exceptional first weekend, but crash hard like MOM.
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness, yeah. Black Adam might be a slow burn like Top Gun. I'm curious to see the final numbers. Masculinity matters. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm not trying to imply it's ever going to hit nearly as many.
I don't even think Top Gun was really a slow burn. It had maybe like a hop, skip, and a giant jump.
It kind of reminded me of because it did have I would call a modest opening weekend, but it wasn't a bad opening weekend, but it just kept going, right? Yeah. Kind of reminded me of Scream almost back in the day, because Scream opened with 6 million up against things like Beavis and Butthead and stuff. Then it made 6 million again its second weekend, which is almost unheard of. It didn't change at all. Then it went up to 10 million. Then it made another 10 million. Then it made 15 million. And then it kept staying in that 15, 10 million range for like weeks. And that's kind of what this movie did. It kept making like 10, 15, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more every weekend. For next thing you know, this thing's one of the biggest grossing films of all time. It's kind of similar in that respect. And so it's more of I wouldn't even call it a sleeper hit like Scream was. This is, and a slow burn is not even totally correct, but I get what you're saying here. And I agree.
It had a hop. It's basically like an Olympic thing, a hop, skip, and a jump. Yeah. It hops up to one, it skips over to the next part, and then it jumps huge. Yeah.
And then but I think you're right. I think Black Adam has the potential to do something like that, not to that caliber, but it could stick around through the holidays.
If it breaks 700 million, I'll be very impressed with that.
You could be right. It could, if this movie, and that's the thing. Andre's very enthusiastic about it. And Andre's pretty reserved usually. So, hey, if he's enjoying it that much, I think a lot of the general audience will eat it up. If that's the case, you'll get a lot of repeat business. This could be a bigger movie than Wakanda Forever and really do some damage to Avatar as well in the long run. Because if it keeps playing through the holidays, it could be a problem.
Yeah, and so far we don't know when it will hit, what its second and third windows will be, when that date will be. I don't think it's going to be a 45-day window. I think they'll probably hold out on it.
No, Warner's has been pretty lenient with that as far as it depends on how it plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Top Gun had a similar thing. It had a couple holidays after its launch that it, came in and kind of caused some issues for other films. So it could be similar in that respect. I do understand and agree with some of the comparison there. That's true. And yeah, Multiverse of Madness, like Love and Thunder, had the same problem. Word of mouth killed them on the second weekend. Wakanda Forever will probably have a strong opening weekend, but I think Andre's right that black men are going to have a huge issue with this movie, and the general audience. I don't know how they're going to react to it. I hear various things. Some people think the trailer looks awesome and exciting. Some people just are like, man, I don't give a shit. So we'll see. And we got Kareen who says, okay, so what he hit her on butt was it what he did back in the day. Females used to do it to males too when I was growing up. Excuse me, no, it's frowned upon. Exactly. I did. Again, he did it in front of the whole crew and all that kind of stuff. So to me, that's what I was saying is context is key here. He didn't do it in an underhanded way like he was trying to grope her or do it in some way that sounded to me like it was any more than, just go out there and get him, kid, kind of thing, like a coach would do, and that's what you're kind of talking about here to Kareen, I believe. And yeah, that's where I agree with. And at the time, if she had a problem with it, she should have said something. Or, yeah, even during the Me Too movement or something like that. But at least, she waits now. At least then he could have defended himself or said, oh, at the time I didn't realize.
Yeah, you're repeating yourself, Tom, man.
Thank you.
If you want to go back an hour and 10 minutes,
I don't.
We'll get the
don't
awesome
know what Seth. Yeah. And then here we go. That's where we're at in these super chats. Sorry. So I'll try to keep going through these. Thank you. Don't know what Seth Green is complaining about. Most kids at that time could only dream about being put in the trash by Bill Murray. Exactly. Like I said, it's like a badge of honor. Joe Pat 87 says reportedly Bill Murray only did Garfield because he thought Ethan Coen wrote it. He mistook him for Ethan Coen's sick.
Ethan Coen, yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, there's David X. It was David X. Coen and David Coen, but yeah, a standard kid movie writer.
If you're in Hollywood with the last name Coen, you can get really far from having zero talent.
Yeah, and that was because he thought it was one of the Coen brothers, David Coen or whatever, and David X. Coen, who worked on Futurama, was the one who actually was working on Garfield. I think he made that story up. I think the truth is he just got a big fat motherfucking check.
I think he was also won over by the fact that he's voicing a Lorenzo Music character and Lorenzo Music voiced his character. Yeah.
Because I never believed that story that he had a problem with Lorenzo Music voicing him, or it would have been something that would have been taken care of right away.
No, I think he had a problem with Dave Coulier coming in to voice him afterwards.
That's more what I heard. And because that change had less to do with anything more than that family group thing coming in and ABC forcing that.
And then J. Michael Straczynski leaving because he didn't like what they were asking him to write for future episodes.
Yeah, they tried to change the show. Well, they did end up changing the show.
Yeah.
Darth Plato's been a member for 18 months. Thank you for that. Hillis Mallory says regarding the Hulk 2003, I don't like that Bruce's father became the absorbing man. That's true. I get that. But my point was they didn't use it. They didn't utilize it in a way that made it worthwhile. Like you put him in a position where you can literally make the other character a Hulk. Now, do that.
I when Andre recommended me the issue 300 origin stuff of Hulk's family, which came in like 15 years after the Hulk, I read it and I'm like, this is unnecessarily convoluted, but I understand the allegory they're making.
And the point of the movie, that's the thing, is I can't believe that wasn't the original ending anyway, because that's kind of what his father's whole goal is, right? He's trying to, in a roundabout way, get himself the power of the Hulk. That's what he's doing. Like, that's his goal. That's his whole thing.
Another super soldier thing, yeah.
Yeah. And they throw that out the window by making him this fucking fart cloud. But anyway, I don't want to dwell on that. But yeah, like it just, to me, and that's why you basically tack the ending of the Edward Norton Hulk and change out the Abomination for Daddy Hulk. And that should have been the ending right there. Those two fighting it out. Anyway,
Elf says Toronto, posing as New York.
Sure. Wherever. I don't care. It was actually a military facility, but it's not like they couldn't have bounced around. Yeah. You got two Hulks. They can throw each other a few states. Elf says, I recommend the anime Orion. Am I saying that right? Aran High School Host Club. It's a 2006 show that's way ahead of its time. It throws shade at SJWs, and even if it looks like a gay anime, it uses elements for comedy. Oh, that's why I didn't know what the hell it was. It's an anime. All right. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Aran High School Host Club. Why do they always have the weirdest fucking names?
You know, the Japanese.
I guess. Super fun time. Jesus Davila says Supa Sticka, and it is Is this the bucket of popcorn one? I think so. Yes, it is. Thank you so much, Jesus. Then we got Mega Wing Zero, who says it sounds like Black Adam is an anti-villain. That's what I'm afraid of too, for those who are looking forward to Black Adam being a traditional version of the character. I know Klobby was in here earlier, and I know that was one of his fears. But we'll have to see how that pans out. Tennille says script and Mahler should be in a buddy cop production. I'm thinking a noir. Maybe call it Cold Water. Still undecided on the poster caption.
All right, cool. I've never met Mahler, but yeah.
Yeah. G-Man says, I heard of the Justice League, but not the Justice Society. Are they kind of like intelligentsia, putting the
No, the Justice Society came first, I believe.
Yes, actually, that's what it is, and I think that's made up of most of that original team too.
It's made out of Dr. Midnight, Dr. Fate, a Green Lantern.
Was
I think
the
a
original
Flash,
Hawkman and stuff like that? And
Hawkman,
the original Flash,
maybe, yeah. I think Wonder Woman was part of them too.
I think so, because she's one of the older characters.
Yeah, but
if she wasn't originally, she was eventually. That I know.
Yeah, I think Black Canary eventually came in later for that. But yeah, they predated the Justice League, not by much though. But yeah,
and I think they made the Justice League because they said the Justice Society just sounded dumb.
Probably. I don't know, or they just didn't want to diversify their titles because the Justice League had a different Flash and the Justice Society had the Jay Garrick Flash.
That's what I'm saying. Although they were like Justice League was kind of the reboot of the Justice Society, from my understanding, anyway. But you're probably more familiar with it, so I'm gonna let you have the final say on that anyway. So there you go. Zontar says Penske will beat Toyota Porsche Penske. Yeah, sorry, at Le Mans next year. Too bad Chato didn't see this, but thank you, Zontar, for the toonie. And then we got Dave Gorig, if I'm saying that right, Gorig. Sends in 5 fancy euros. It says Shazam should have been an Adam Sandler movie 20 years ago. Yeah. You know what's funny is I swear I remember him being attached to something like that years and years ago too. Like when they were because Shazam is a movie that New Line's tried to make for years.
Yeah.
For some reason, I swear Adam Sandler was attached to it at one point. But I could be wrong on that.
He probably didn't want to work out.
Back then, I think in his prime, he probably could have made it a fun movie, especially if it was outside of this DC universe and would have fit just being its own thing. And that's the weird thing is Black Adam is part of that too, because back then New Line took a bunch of the DC characters when they got into the whole Ted Turner thing. Plastic Man was part of that. That's why Robert Shea was going to be working on that. Mm-hmm. Of course, you had there's another one too. I can't remember now, but it has the New Line logo in front of it. But Shazam did, Adams, and if they did, Black Adam, I think does too. So there you go. That's a movie.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, Black Adam had a New Line.
I think somebody told me it did. So yeah, and that's why, because I think they asked me that a while back. Like, why is the New Line logo in the thing? It's because it started under New Line. That's why. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, it'd be funny if it was an Adam Sandler movie. STR Red Wolf says, just say Black Adam and Wakanda forever. There you go. That's a good point. Elf says, it's now a tradition. If critics claim a movie is terrible, it means it's good. If they claim it's good, it's pure trash. Pretty much. It's getting to that point where that metric's about there. Mech1164 says, bring back the 70s cartoon Hong Kong Phooey. Would make Hollyweird have conniptions. I don't think they would be able to make Hong Kong Phooey now. Didn't they try to do that like 20 years ago?
I don't think so. Maybe if they did, it was very, very close to the chest, but I didn't hear it.
Because I know there was a point when they were doing a lot of those, and then thankfully they thought better of it after a few of them flopped. So they were trying to turn every like during the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie days and all that shit. Hillis Mallory says Marvel needs to recast Iron Man and T'Challa. I don't disagree with T'Challa. I don't know why they would have to recast Iron Man though. He's still alive and you can still have him in it. It's not like Robert Downey Jr. has to keep in very great shape to play fucking Tony Stark.
Yeah.
He's just they just do a close up of his face when he's in the suit. That's really all it is. Or what is that rig they got on your head where you move your head and the rig moves with your head and stuff? That's really all it is. Anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think T'Challa, they should, though, at this point. Megawing Zero says, if you do the Fantastic Four right, that can shape the next 10 to 20 years, I think you're trying to say, of the MCU. I agree. Fantastic Four are the heart and soul. Without them, everything falls apart. And I would even make an argument in that sense for the X-Men. The X-Men right there just opens your window for a whole new, like, here's a bunch of new characters now. So there you go, and people know them. James Esperanza says, can you invite Mark Grubert on, ex-editor at National Lampoon, ex-lead editor at MTV, to go mag, and friend of Gilbert Gottfried, who has an Oliver Stone-esque YouTube channel, America's Untold Stories. I wouldn't have a problem talking with Mark. I don't know him personally. I love National Lampoon, and of course was a fan of MTV when they had music and Beavis and Butthead on. And I do like Gilbert Gottfried, and I was sad when he left us. As far as Oliver Stone and all that kind of business, and then that kind of stuff doesn't necessarily feed into what we do here. But if you wanted to come talk some entertainment fun with us, and he was open to it, sure. We would love to talk to just about anybody, to be honest with you. Even people that you wouldn't imagine. But there you go. Her say, not hearsay, says Tennille. Bump. Oh. See what you did there. Sean Carter says, want to see JJ do some XXX movies. The concept of a mystery box would take on a whole new meaning. There'd be a lot of lens filler in those.
So you wouldn't see anything.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, that would be a very piss poor porno. Because he'd even have nipples giving lens flares. That's how bad he is. Camelbot Killer says, I hope BA does well, beating Black Adam. The Rock deserves a hit movie. I don't know if he deserves it, but I know he's had his heart in this one for a while. I'll give you that. As far as that part of it, yeah, I think the movie deserves a break on that as long as it's decent. That's all that matters, and that's what it sounds like it is. So in that respect, yeah. Aaron Pipe says, yeah, Disney is so family focused. We now have She-Hulk with overt sexual focus and corporate attacking parental rights and promoting pedophilia. Well, you're not completely wrong on this, Aaron Pipes. You could really, if you really want to hear more on this, I suggest checking out the Toxic Femme show that we did the other day, and that's what Paul was talking about. That was pretty hilarious. Them getting into that and breaking that all down about She-Hulk being the horniest show on TV, and then of course they really get into the other side of it too as well. So I do suggest that, but yeah, I find that it was a very tone deaf interview, and definitely can show where Jessica Gao is really pushing that kind of bullshit.
I mean, it's ironic that they try to say that because you watch the first season of Jessica Jones, the Luke Cage show, or even the Defenders, there's literally a graphic sex scene in each of those ones there. I think there's one like Mike Coulter's doing Rosario Dawson on a table.
Fucking Jessica Jones is thirsty. Is so thirsty for fucking what's his face that
Mike Coulter, Luke Cage.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, give me a break on that. And actually they did that well, right? Like I didn't mind the first season. I don't remember if I watched the second season of Jessica Jones.
I couldn't watch the second season of Jessica Jones.
The first one I thought was all right. I'm like, it's not typical Marvel stuff, but I like their chemistry. I like this idea. They never really went out of their way to overly like explain shit. Like, so I didn't mind that. At first it kind of bothered me, but then I didn't mind it as a show. And it's like, I don't really need to know all the shit about where she got her powers and crap. And maybe that's where the later seasons go, but I didn't know anything about the character really going in other than her name and that she was a Marvel character. And I ended up enjoying the show. I really liked Luke Cage in it and all that kind of stuff. And that led me to watch Luke Cage. And I ended up enjoying that. First season, I think I watched 2 seasons of that. And the second one wasn't as good, if I remember right.
Yeah, I've never seen Iron Fist, but I've had some friends tell me that pretty much has a proto model of the woman being more important than the title.
That's what it sounded like at the time. And that's one of the reasons I checked out at that point. And I actually checked out during the Defenders. I watched like the first couple episodes of that. And I'm just like, fuck this. It was just seemed boring and dumb. It just didn't seem right. Something was off. But I fell out of that like pretty quick.
Well, Drew Goddard wrote most of the Defenders. He came back for that, which is ironic because he's left Daredevil before they even began writing and shooting. And then he came back for the Defenders and did 8 episodes that were garbage.
Interesting.
And pretentious as hell.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I don't even know if I got past the first episode of Defenders. I don't remember. It's been that long. But yeah, we are caught up, and unless we missed anything else, Six, she says that's everything. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for hanging in there. We appreciate it. And thank you, Script, for hanging around for the last bit here to help me out with these super chats. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Sorry we missed a couple of those that were meant for other panelists, but hopefully you got your answers throughout the show, and hopefully we see you back here again on Monday. Until then, I'm sure we have a video or two that will drop. I don't know anything offhand specifically. I know Script Doctor and I are definitely going to try to get back to A-rated B movies and B-rated A movies one of these days. Yep. We know the next one already, and I think we're going to try and do that before Halloween. I know that was.
We should. Yeah, let's see if we can do that. And maybe next Saturday might be work well for me.
Yeah, because we do have at least one more week, luckily, before. So like next Saturday or something like that might be perfect.
Yeah, let's try shooting for that.
Let's do that. And as Bass says, it's koala time. That's right. So let's go to the koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koala. Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas in the rain.